The opinions expressed by tonight's guest do not represent the opinions or position of Spaced Out Radio, syndicated carriers, or anyone associated with SOR Media. Listener discretion is advised. Come own the night with us. Stationed atop the mountains of British Columbia, live from SOR headquarters. This is Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott. You can follow us on our website, spacedoutradio.com, and on Spaced Out Radio on iTunes. You can follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Dave Scott SOR, on Facebook at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio.
We're watching. We watched you for so long. We wait for you to fall. We will expose you all. I know you're out there somewhere watching me.
Buckle up, space travelers. It's time to go for a ride on Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott.
Good evening and welcome to Spaced Out Radio. Tonight it's Friday, December 22nd, Saturday, December 23rd if you're on the East Coast or across the pond, and this is Spaced Out Radio. Hope you've had a great day and night. I am your host, Dave Scott, live from the Great White North in the Caribou region on top of the snowy mountains of central British Columbia, right here at SOR headquarters. We want to say hello to everyone listening in on WQEE 99 Rock the Key down in Newnan, Georgia, home of The Walking Dead. We are live as well on the United Public Radio Network, 107.7 FM in New Orleans, and over 160 countries around the world. We are also live at The Fringe, FM, spacedoutradio.com, Spreaker, KTLK, Renegade Talk Radio out of Las Vegas, the High Plains Talk Radio Network, and if you're listening in on Revolution Radio, remember the Double R Machine is a donation station financed by you, the valued listener. Head on over to freedomslips.com and donate today. You can follow us all over social media. We're on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. On Instagram, you can follow me at Dave Scott, SOR. You can also check us out on iHeartRadio. Our YouTube channel is youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. We're on TuneIn. Download and subscribe to our shows from iTunes. Our website, of course, is spacedoutradio.com. Now, we have a GoFundMe account going right now. We want to try and raise some funds to improve our broadcasting system so that way we can get more terrestrial. So what we would like you to do, in the Christmas spirit, of course, is to head to GoFundMe.com/We Own the Night. That's GoFundMe.com/We Own the Night. And if you have the ability to even share that, we would greatly appreciate that. Thank you. If you head to our website, spacedoutradio.com, you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. Read the Encounter online dealing with everything paranormal, strange, and odd. We have my latest blog up there as well. Great videos from Tim Doyle's UFO Seekers and Leslie Mitchell Clark's Contact TV. With the celebration of Christmas coming up in just a couple of days, we took a long look at the holiday season, figured, you know what, we need to do a show about this. And what came to mind? Miracles. Christmas miracles. It's time of year where, whether you believe in God or some other sort of higher power or nothing at all, we all look at the little signs of wanting to believe that miracles can happen. But do they? Or are they just mere lucky coincidences that many in science like to describe it that way? And if there are miracles, how come they don't happen a little bit more often, or for people who are suffering or in need? It's a very positive yet frustrating topic for many people out there, so we're bringing in the spiritual warrior, Bill Bean, to break it all down for us tonight. Bill is a strong believer and calls himself a warrior of God. He's seen miracles happen. So we'd figure he'd have a pretty good opinion on this topic. Now, Bill's going to join us for hour number 1. In hours 2 and 3, we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to open up the phone lines to you. Any topic that you want to talk about in hours 2 and 3, 702-302-4556. That's 702-302-4556. I'll give you those numbers once again when we head into hours 2 and 3. Bill Bean, thank you so much for being on Spaced Out Radio tonight. Merry Christmas to you, my friend.
Merry Christmas to you as well, my brother, and thank you so much. It's great to be back with you, and thank you for everyone out there who's listening in.
Well, we really appreciate you taking the time. I know it's a busy time of the year for you because it is the Christmas season and you are a man of faith, a man of God, and this is an important time for you and your family. Bill, for my audience who may not have heard of you before, because we've expanded greatly since the last time you were on this show. We're around 150,000 listeners a night now. Compared to when you were last on, we were probably around 1,000. So we've expanded quite a bit. So I'd love it if you took a couple of minutes to tell people how you became the spiritual warrior.
Well, first of all, congratulations, and again, we thank God for the miracle in itself right there of expanding in this short amount of time from where you were to where you are, and may it continue to grow, and may 2018 just be an explosion for you and for Spaced Out Radio, and may it reach 3 times as many people as you're reaching right now. So congratulations, Brother Dave. And for those out there who are not familiar with my story, I was a victim. This is, I've said it 1,000,000 times, and I'll say it 1,000,001 now. I could not be where I'm at right now had I not been there. So my life started out as a victim. My family was destroyed by demonic forces. I was nearly destroyed as well. And I've written 3 books, and in my first book, which is called Dark Force, I say in Dark Force that the story begins in 1970 when my family and I moved into a 3-bedroom ranch-style home located in Glen Burnie, Maryland, in a community called Herondale. But it actually goes much further back than that, Dave. After I'd written Dark Force, I wasn't aware of this until after I'd written the book and it was out. But then some more information was revealed to me, and I also had discovered some old family photographs that indicates that this activity was taking place long before we moved into that house in Herondale. So for those who would like to see some of the photographs, just visit billbean.net or billbeanministries.com and click on the photo gallery, and it'll say supernatural photos, and just click on that, and you'll see some very interesting photos, to say the least. So the earliest photographs that had something of a paranormal, supernatural type of thing going on were photographs of me. Now, this is pertaining to me specifically. Photos of me at the age of 2, and that was 1968. And one photo in particular, my sister and I are seated behind a toy piano, Christmas of 1968. And she was to my left, and to her far left was this gigantic entity. It looked to be at least 7 feet tall, and it had a black hood. And you see it very clearly in the corner of the picture. So if you're looking at the picture, if you're looking at it, facing it, the entity would be to her left, but would be to your right. So just look in the corner of the picture on the right, and you can't miss it. So the story starts there, and then there was another photograph, a Polaroid photo taken of me the following year in 1969 at the age of 3. And in that photo, it was as if some sort of dimensional doorway had opened, because it was supposed to be a photo of a little 3-year-old boy. But what came out in this Polaroid, instant Polaroid photo were many different looking entities, ranging from something that looked like a lion that was over top of my head, to non-human looking beings, entities that were standing behind me in single file, ranging in sizes, even extraterrestrial looking beings, a little gray alien looking guy standing to my left, which looked to be about 2.5, 3 feet tall. And then a little further over to the left of that alien-looking being looked to be some sort of Bigfoot type of creature. So I don't know what that photograph meant and how or why that dimensional doorway opened up in that way, but it certainly did. And it was very clear that there were others present with me in that photograph. And I truly believe that, Dave, being where I'm at now in helping others, that God, there was a destiny for me, and it was predestined that God had a plan for me before I came into this world. And certainly I praise him and thank him for working through me in the way that he does. But as the story began, I feel that it was necessary for me to experience those things in order for me to not only be where I'm at right now, but to be able to connect with people. So I'll give you, for instance, if I were to talk with someone or come into their home, someone that is under spiritual attack, someone that may be carrying something around, because a lot of the cases, the root of the problem stems from either child molestation or rapes or some type of violent crime. It involves trauma. So if I were to go to such a person, and if I had not had the experience or experience at all with trauma, then it would be impossible to make the connection, because people who have suffered great trauma do not trust so easily. They do not open up to others very easily. And so it's abundantly clear to me that it was necessary for me to suffer some of these traumas and losses in order to be able to help people, in order for God to work through me in the powerful way that he does, in not only helping people to become free from evil, but just to be able to move forward in life and have a quality of life and do the best that they can do and be the best that they can be. And I call it warrior mode. So when we are walking in faith, strength, and courage, we are in warrior mode. And I try to be in warrior mode 24/7, and I certainly encourage others to do so. But, back to the childhood and growing up in that house, the house sat at the bottom of a downhill cul-de-sac, and there was a very long and large and deep ravine behind the house. And I was, I think, 4 years old when we moved in there. My sister was 13 and my brother was 1. And I recall the first time that we were standing in front of the house. I just had this, I was afraid. I had this just awful feeling. And, here I am, a 4-year-old kid, but I knew something was not right. And my sister would later tell me that she felt the same way, that something, you could just feel it. It had an ominous look and feel. The house was semi-dilapidated. My father, William Bean Sr., was a master carpenter, and he saw it as a restoration project, which he did quite a bit of restoration work to it. And it had the same type of feel on the inside. The house was equally as ominous and foreboding on the inside. You would walk in through the living room, the front door into the living room, and it just had this, the air was heavy, and it was just this vibe. And again, we as human beings, we operate on frequency and vibration. And when we're on high frequency and high vibration, life is good. Things are positive. We are moving forward. But when we're on low frequency, low vibration, life is a challenge, to say the least. And there's always a drama and a problem in a situation. But not only that, atmospherically, something is off when we're under that type of attack from evil and negativity. It's just, you can atmospherically feel the difference. The air is very heavy, and sometimes people's ears ring. It's from pressure, and there's a series of things that go with that, whether it's foul smells or loud popping noises in the room, whatever it may be. All of these things were certainly taking place in the house at various times. But my mother, Patricia Bean, was the first to have an experience in the house, and it wasn't long after moving in. And my dad had taken us with him to his parents' house for the day to allow my mother to unpack and organize some things and, what they thought would be peace without us bothering her. And it was during the course of this, she was in the living room, and during the course of this, she felt a presence come into the room, and in her mind, she thought that it was my dad sneaking back into the room to play a joke on her. And so she, at one point, spun around fully anticipating on seeing him. And to her shock, nothing was there, and she was quite unnerved by it, perplexed by it, and really needed a few moments to collect herself. And once she was able to collect herself and try and go back to doing what she was doing, the bedroom door slammed shut, one of the bedroom doors. So, again, she's in the living room, and if you make a right, you would go down a long hallway, which had a tiled floor, hard tile. And there were often times that we would hear footsteps going down that hallway, and it would reverberate off of the dark brown panelings of the house. It was very dark inside, always, even on the brightest of sunny days, because it had this dark brown paneling on the walls, almost black. And so, again, if you make the right and go down that long hallway, 3 rooms, 3 bedrooms were down there in the bathroom. And my brother and I shared the first room on the right. My parents' room was the second room on the right, and my sister's room was across the hallway, the last room on the left. And I do believe that was the room in which the main portal existed. So that room was always ice cold, even on the warmest of summer days, and that is also the room where the door would open and slam for many repetitions at a time by itself. And on this day, that's exactly what happened. The door slammed shut by itself, and that was enough to make my mom go outside and wait until we returned. So that's where it began. And then it gradually escalated into more of these noises and feelings of presence, and water faucets turning on by themselves with such force that it would saturate areas in the bathroom and the kitchen. TV sets, we had a big, heavy TV set in the living room, and back then you didn't have remote control. And so you'd have to push a button in, and it had a very heavy channel selector. And so it would take some effort to turn that dial, that channel selector, and, oftentimes the set would come on by itself and something would just effortlessly flip the dial. So many of these things, including what sounded like tapping on the walls, and sometimes sounded like someone taking a fist and pounding on the walls. So all these things, gradually escalated into violent physical attacks on us from these demonic entities, and it greatly contributed to the destruction of my family.
Well, how did you ever find your faith through all of that?
Well, it's amazing. And that in itself is a miracle. We're talking about miracles. That is one right there. My parents believed in God, but we never attended church as children. We were never baptized, so we didn't have any religious upbringing or faith-based structure. However, through all of this, I had this knowing and this blind faith in God. I didn't know. I'd never picked up a Bible. I didn't know any of the verses or anything. But I had this blind faith in God. And I'll tell you, Dave, I remember one time as a child, and I had to be somewhere around maybe 6 or 7 years old. And I was in my room, and it was nighttime. And we lived at the bottom of this downhill cul-de-sac. So if you came down the street, you would have to back up. It was there were only a few houses on the street. And I recall saying out loud that, God, if you exist, make a horn go off. And I kid you not, seconds after I said that out loud, this car horn went off. And for me, even though we suffered in horrific ways and we were physically attacked, I suffered physical attacks from these demonic entities for many years. My mother suffered far more than I did. She suffered more than any other person I've ever seen in my life. But through it all, I had this blind faith and this knowing. And furthermore, I feel that God confirmed to me on that night that he was real and he was there. And so even though I didn't have the church, or we didn't have the church or traditional Christian upbringing, I always had that blind faith and that knowing that, A, God was real and God was there. So it takes me right back to what I said, when we first started the interview, is in being where I'm at now, do I wish I could go back and change some things? Of course, especially when it comes to the suffering of my mother, but I can't change it. So what I can do, and again, I thank God and praise God for this, is allow God to work through me in this way to help other people. So I can identify things, and I can, again, make the connection with people to where a lot of people can't because they haven't had the experience. So that is why God chooses people like me to be able to work through me to help others, because I have been there.
Bill, a lot of people will say, well, where is God today? Where is God today? The world is all hell in a handbasket. We got UFOs now being brought out into the public. There's war everywhere. There's more starvation that is noticeable due to social media and brutal housing conditions. We treat our veterans like crap for putting their lives on the line for this thing that is supposed to be called freedom. The rich are getting richer. They're not helping out the poor. We're seeing natural disaster after natural disaster happen. A lot of people are saying, where is God? Where are these miracles? And you can understand why people are getting a little bit frustrated and maybe pulling away from their own personal or church beliefs.
And this is why I say now is the time. Right now is the exact, precise time for people to be running to God. God is allowing these things to happen for a short time. And the devil, Hasatan, Satan, the enemy and adversary to man, is roaming to and fro on this earth, and he has demonic forces with him. And more of these forces are being loosed on the earth. And furthermore, to bring in the UFO aspect, I'm glad you brought that up, because one should look at Psalm 68:17, to where it says, the chariots of God are 20,000. So all these things are very much connected. Why does our God, Yahweh, operate these craft, or have his heavenly host operate these craft? I don't know. He's the creator of everything, but I certainly believe that he does. And furthermore, I believe that when Satan and a third of the angels were cast out of heaven, they were cast out in those flying craft, and they came down here and taught fallen angel technology and took human women, the sons of God, the B'nai Elohim, that came down and took human women and produced that hybrid offspring of giants, the Nephilim. And if you read the book of Enoch, it talks about the Nephilim having unnatural sex acts with the beasts of the field. And I believe that some of those were apes and bears, and that's why we have the Bigfoot creatures, the Sasquatch. I believe that they are a crossbreed of Nephilim, which is angel, so that makes them supernatural, but also human as well, born or born through a human mother. They're offspring of the offspring. And perhaps if the book of Enoch is correct, and the Nephilim did have these unnatural sex acts, well then this could explain who they are and what they're doing here. And I just absolutely believe it's all connected, Dave. So I believe this, that for whatever reasons, our God and his heavenly host, the angelic realm, Some operate those flying craft, and others are in the demonic realm, so the devil and his minions operate them, and certainly our governments now have this technology because of the deals that have been made, the deals with the devil. So they operate some of these craft, and then in the vastness of the universe, I certainly believe that our glorious God, Yahweh, created life elsewhere out there, and it's possible that those people are coming here as well. So we have really four different areas to look at when talking about the UFO phenomena, but it is certainly all connected. I've had many UFO experiences in my lifetime and interactions and sightings with non-human beings. So, it is all connected. But again, I say this, and I try to say this to people in a way that I'm not shouting at them, or I'm not trying to twist anybody's arm to do anything, because God gave us free will, so we're free to make our choices and do whatever. But I say this: God has worked miracles for me in my life. He has totally transformed me from someone that was a victim. Most of my family is gone. My parents were gone at an early age. My mother died at the age of 44 from a cerebral hemorrhage, and my dad was shot to death at the age of 48, and a lot of other family members are gone, so I have very little family left. But God has transformed my life. I quit school in the 8th grade, Dave, and I had to lie about my age and go to work for a construction company, and I was working with hardcore men. I was a skinny kid, and I had to grow up very, very quickly. And it really made me a very tough and strong man, because I was working with tough and strong and hardcore men. And so I had all this adversity in my life. I grew up on the streets. I hung out with the worst of the worst people. Most of those people are dead or in prison. I could very easily be there as well. I've made a lot of mistakes in my life. But through it all, God was there. And it wasn't until I decided that I was going to make him first in my life and allow him to guide my life. Now, there's a difference between a person that says, I go to church, I'm in there every Sunday, or the person that says, I make my personal connection with God, and I make God first in my life, and I am totally committed to him. Now, we have to be real with ourselves, and we can't go out on the limb of saying, I'm going to do this and do that, because then people get burned out, and after about 3-4 weeks of that, then they fall back to the way they were going. We just have to have a real relationship with God, because God loves us in spite of ourselves. But if we can truly make that commitment to God and say, look, I make you first in my life. Please take me as I am. I promise to try and do the best and be the best that I can be. But you know my shortcomings, and I thank you for loving me anyway. And I pray that you'll help me to just get through this. And that's what I did. And God has worked so many miracles for me and continues to do so to this day. He makes a way where there isn't a way. Is my life perfect? Absolutely not. I have problems and situations just like everybody else from time to time. And when adversity comes, I fear not. I don't have to worry, because I know that God's with me and for me, and he'll make a way. So I urge people now, especially in these times that you have mentioned, and what you said is absolutely true. And this is the time that we must turn to God and truly make him first, and he will make that way for us. And I certainly pray for the world. I pray for our nation. And I do believe that better days are coming, Dave. I believe that a great purging is upon us. And I don't know when, because God has not told me this, and I would be a liar if I said that he did or I know when this is. But I truly feel that a great purging is upon us. And a lot of these evildoers on the earth, God is going to take care of. So I do believe that better days are coming. And I just urge people to please just take that leap of faith and explore a personal relationship with God, because the church starts with us, and it starts from within. And then we can take that outward. And it's a wonderful thing to attend church and to praise and gather and assemble and praise our glorious God. But if you're going to church for status, or if you're going to church just to say, I go to church, well, then you're wasting your time. And so it all comes down to just being real.
You know what, Bill? One of the things that we want to bring you on, because we only have you for the first hour tonight, is about Christmas miracles, because a lot of people, whether they're believers or not, or they were believers in the past and now they aren't, one of the things is at this time of year, people look for miracles, whether it's financial miracles to afford Christmas presents or dinner for their children, or maybe, let's face it, these companies are becoming more and more callous, and, December used to be the month where they never fired anybody. Well, now the date doesn't matter. People are losing their jobs close to Christmas. There's people needing miracles around Christmas time. Do you see an increase of spiritual help at this time of year?
Well, to be honest with you, and you hit the nail on the head, earlier by saying, the way we are in the world right now, and it's unfortunate, and I see, this is why I'm so busy, and that, I continuously travel to people all over America. I do Skype sessions with people internationally, and I have totally devoted my life to God and to serving God by helping others. And so it never stops for me. It's a never-ending journey, and there's so many people in pain. And I just got back from helping a family in Charleston, South Carolina, wonderful people, and they were suffering. And God worked through me to bring miracles to them, and they're doing very well now, and I pray that they'll continue to do well. So when God works through me to help people, not only is he working through me to rid them of demons or curses or whatever it may be, God also works through me to be someone, I guess the best way to categorize it would maybe be a life coach in a sense, to where we have to sit down and put a game plan together for that person moving forward. Because God can work through me all day long to deliver people from demonic garbage. But then what? What do they do after that? Because when people get into that fear-based, trauma-based way of thinking, it's very difficult to break. So my job then, I have to sit down and say, look, this is the game plan moving forward. So that in itself is miraculous, too, to where people can break out of those ways, because we get conditioned, and we accept certain things, even though they're bad for us, we still accept them as normal, and we stay in that. So it requires that leap of faith, which is miraculous in itself, to step out of that and go in a new direction. So unfortunately, what I'm seeing, and the reason that I'm so busy, is I'm seeing a great increase in people being under this type of demonic oppression or influence, and I do attribute that to technology, to where things like the CERN device and the D-Wave computers, I think they're working in concert with each other, and I think they're opening portals and doorways to loose more and more demons on the earth. Now, that said, I still see good. I still see a lot of good people who care. I see miracles in that, and I'm praying that in 2018, God will work through me in another way. And that way will be to somehow unite people, city by city, town by town, community by community, to get this strong message out to the people to say, look, we're in this thing together. Let's stop opposing each other. Let's start working together. And let's start caring about each other. Let's start doing for each other, because each man's life touches another in some way, shape, or form. For me, I always pray that it is in a good way. I pray each and every day of my life. First thing I do is I thank God and praise God for the day, because if we want to talk about miracles, that's the first miracle, the miracle of life. Life is a gift, and we are not promised tomorrow. So each and every day, God works a miracle for us in giving us life. So that's where it starts. But then I also pray that God will work through me to be a blessing to others in each and every day of my life. So I really pray that God will increase that within me to try and be even a better uniter of the people around this country and even around the world, that we could suddenly have this philosophy that we should be the best that we can be and do the best that we can do for God, for ourselves, and for each other on a daily basis. And we should be committed to excellence. And if we're committed to excellence, that means we're always going to strive to do the right thing. Are we going to be perfect? No. None of us are perfect. We all sin. We all make mistakes. I would be the first one to say that. I've mentioned some of the mistakes that I've made in life in my second book called Delivered. So again, we have to be real. But if we can truly be committed to doing the best that we can do and being the best that we could be, and if we took this on a large scale, suddenly our world would change in a tremendous way.
Bill, unfortunately, due to the amount of time that we have with you tonight, we can't go too in-depth, so we're going to be jumping around quite a bit here. I would love it if you could tell us about some of the miracles that you've seen happen of 2017.
Well, one of the miracles, Dave, took place in a little town in Pennsylvania. And again, this is a family that was in great need. And the wife, mother, it was a husband and wife and two children, three children. They were, under attack, but especially the wife, the wife/mother. She really suffered greatly as a child. And through a variety of abuse, and it really affected her, not only were there demons attached to her throughout all of that, but it really affected her faith in God. And so I went out there, and I actually was out there twice. And the second time that I went, they were having problems again. And this happens sometimes. There's times I go to people, and God works through me to help them, and they go on to have a great life and never have any more of those problems. And then there's other times that other people or families, have problems again, and I go back to them. So this, happened to be one of those times. And wonderful people. But unfortunately, she had fallen back, into the pattern of just not believing in God and feeling that she was alone and God was not with her and for her. So I performed another spiritual deliverance. But then as I was going through the house, she and her husband were with me, and we went up into the attic area, and very large house. And she started crying, and she said, "Bill, I just don't believe." And I said, and now, she's saying this to me, and I was just grieved in my heart, my spirit. So I said out loud, I said, "Father, I ask you for a miracle now. I ask you to show this woman one of your giant warrior angels here and now, just to show her that you are real and you're here and you love her and you're with her." So I prayed that, and nothing happened, Dave. And so now, all the several minutes have gone by, nothing has happened. She's standing there, and I'm feeling from her that she's becoming even more dejected. So I prayed it again. I said, "Father, I'm asking you, please, reveal your glory to this woman and let her know that you love her and you're with her and you're for her." And again, nothing happened. So now I'm getting to a point of thinking, my goodness, what am I going to do? I can't leave this woman like this. Her faith will be totally destroyed. There's no way I can leave her. So I said it one more time. I said, "Father, I beg of you, please show this woman. Show her one of your angels. Show her your glory. Show her that you love her and you're with her. I beg of you, Father, in Jesus' name." And then all of a sudden, Dave, it was glorious. I'm getting chills right now just thinking about this. God manifested that angel in front of us, and that lady said, "I see it," and the excitement, it was off the charts. It made her whole life. She saw God's angel right there with us. The husband said he saw it. She was crying. She was hugging him, and it absolutely restored her faith, and they're doing very well to this day. It was one of the greatest moments that I've ever had in my career as a deliverance minister. I'll never forget it, and it was a true miracle, and I thank God and praise God for it.
Wow, that's life-altering right there. That is life-altering.
Yes, and I got the chills just putting myself back there again, and it just brought me so much joy. And just leaving there that night, I was just 10 feet tall and thanking God and praising Him because He changed that woman's life that night.
There are so many people on a daily basis, Bill, and I follow your Facebook closely. You are praying for dozens of people every day publicly because of cancer, because of health scares, because of, old age, because of dementia, whatever it may be. These are strangers that you will probably never come across in your life. Why do you reach out to them on social media like that? And number two, when you reach out on a social media platform, does the power of the people who are helping give the energy for that person really help in a miraculous way towards their health or their, clearing their destitute lives or anything along those lines?
Yes, I'm glad you bring it up. And look, brother, there's times, and tonight happens to be one of those times. I was resting before we started the show, and God is recharging me, and I thank Him and praise Him for that. But there's times that I come home from these trips, and I'm just exhausted, and I'll take a shower and spend a little bit of time with my wife, and then I'm right back, online because I know I'll have a million messages there. And a lot of those messages are prayer requests. And so I never waver in it because it's part of my service to God and my fellow man. And you're exactly right. Some of these people I'll never meet in my lifetime, but I consider them an extension of family just the same. And these people have a variety of problems. And yes, some are healed. And I praise God for it. Not everybody. And I can't explain why not everybody is healed, but there have been some people that God has absolutely worked miraculous healings for, and I certainly thank Him and praise Him for that.
Do you find that the power of prayer helps when you have more people manifesting towards it?
Yes, absolutely. So where Jesus said, where two or more gather in my name, I'll be there. So I absolutely believe that. And so this is an example. And it goes back to what I was saying a little earlier, is that strangers come in, and you see this, that there are these people that will join me in prayer for the person that's affected. And what a wonderful thing that people will take a moment out of their life to say, hey, I join you, Bill. Let's join together and pray for this person, because we're asking God to bless this person in whatever way that person needs to be blessed. I think that's a wonderful and beautiful thing, and it shows love, it shows caring, it shows compassion. So if we're doing that in that area, praying for someone, why can't we take it a step further? Why can't we really take this and make it a movement and make it a goal and make this an agenda to really take this thing as far and as wide as we possibly can in helping each other in some way? I mean, there's places that I go, and don't take this the wrong way for you or the listeners. I am not perfect, and I don't claim to be. But there are times and places, it just happened today. God will put something on my heart, and I know that if someone's in need, or God will somehow give me an urging in my spirit that someone's in need, I will give. I will freely give to a stranger. It's happened so many times, and that's part of my third book. It's called 10 Steps to Victory, and in that book there are 10 simple steps to follow, and one of the steps is giving. When we give with a glad heart and we expect nothing in return, that's when tremendous blessings will come. Now, I'm not doing that to seek or receive tremendous blessings, but that's exactly what happens. So, if we, for instance, if we're in a church and if we are pressured, and I've talked with some people that have left the churches because they were always pressured to tithe and to give monies, and they were made to feel guilty or shamed and things of that nature. So if a person is in a church and they give in that manner to where they really don't want to give, but they're giving out of being shamed or just bullied in a sense, then there's no blessing on that. You might as well light that money on fire. There's no blessing on that at all. But if we are in a church or everyday life somewhere, and we just decide, and whether that's a feeling from God or just saying to ourselves, hey, I want to do this, and we just give something to somebody without expecting anything in return, look out, because the blessings will flow from there. It's Christ-like.
Bill, how do people know when a miracle is happening to them? Because I'm a firm believer. Okay, I'm not a churchgoer. I consider myself more of a spiritualist, and I'm one of these people because I'm empathic. The minute I step into a church, it's like going 15 rounds with Mike Tyson with my hands behind my back because I get hit by so much hypocrisy. And I find it very difficult. That being said, I'm not opposed to church or anything along those lines because there are people out there who have made themselves better because of the message. They're able to block all of the negativity that follows along with it. But how do people know when that miracle is happening to them? Because people are so downtrodden today with everything. Everything's more expensive, yet their salaries are lower. There's no stability anymore. And people are so downtrodden that most people out there, Bill, just see the negative and they don't know when something positive is happening.
That's why it's so important for people to have a real connection with God, because where there's instability, God is the rock. And he's the only one that we can count on. And I know it's easier said than done, but believe me, when I started to live my life in this way, my whole life changed. And I can never thank God and praise God enough for what he's done, for what he's doing, and for what he's going to do for me. And I pray that, again, God can have men to step up and approach it in the way I approach it, and not that I'm perfect and right and everything, but I'm real. And more people need to step up and be real. People are leaving the churches in droves because some of the pastors are not real. They're following a cookie-cutter way of going about this, and there's no real caring. A lot of clients have come to me and said, we had to turn to you because we went to our pastor or our priest, and they turned us away and said, what do you want me to do? I'm not trained in that. I don't do that. Or, don't waste my time or whatever it may be. And so they're totally turned away. What does that say for the church? What does that say? What does that do to the person's faith? It's horrible. So I pray that more men of God will step up and be real and say, look, let's go about it in this way. Let's have a real dialogue. Let's have a real connection in here, and let's all come together because we're in this thing together. And so if we're in this thing together, let's come together as one, and let's worship God, and let's not only come together and worship God, but let's do the best that we can do by God by helping each other. And if we can get into that mindset and that philosophy, all of a sudden, the world becomes better, we become better, the quality of life improves greatly. And so that is certainly my prayer, my dream, my hope, and I certainly hope to be a big part of it here in 2018 and beyond.
Do you think God is kind of just stepping to the side right now and watching what's happening on the planet, or do you think he is active but in ways that we can't figure out?
A little bit of both. And I think that he stepped aside in a sense because he wants to see who's really going to stand up to this adversity. So God says, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. So knowledge is power. And power perceived is power achieved. So right now in our world, I'm sorry to say this, the world is made up of mostly followers. So there are a lot of people, especially our young people, that are following things and people and trends blindly and don't realize what they're partaking in. And some of this garbage is absolutely evil to the core. And so the design of it is to lead people away from God. And furthermore, maybe we could talk about this on the next show. I touched on it a little bit about CERN and the D-Wave computers. This AI, this stuff, this is artificial intelligence. In my opinion, it is absolutely demonic to the core. So the more technologically advanced we become, the worse off we are as a people. And this is by design. because this is all designed to lead us away from God. So God is still there. However, God is also standing on the sidelines in the sense to allow the devil to have this short time, because this goes all the way back to the book of Job, to where he said, I can get your good and faithful servant Job to curse you. And God said, okay, but you can't kill him. And this goes on to this very day. So demons can come onto a person and come into their life and even possess them. I just had on October 27th, a lady was fully possessed, and God worked through me to deliver her. But they still can't directly kill us. So they can come into a person and onto a person and create a variety of damage. They can aid and abet by bad choices, but they cannot directly kill us. And that goes back to the book of Job. So God is standing on the sidelines right now just to see who is going to stand up, who's going to remain in strong faith. So it's my responsibility and obligation as a man of God to try and plant these seeds with people, to urge them. And again, I'm not going to twist anybody's arm, but I am strongly urging that you don't have to believe a word I'm saying here, but please investigate it for yourself. See about having a real connection with God, and see if that could be something that might help you to better your life. And so life is about moving forward. And so it goes right back to the frequency and vibration thing that I was talking about earlier. If we are on high frequency and high vibration, then we are moving forward. So the devil is in the details, and he is in the negative. He is in the lower frequencies and vibrations, and so are his demons. And his job and mission is to kill, rob, and destroy. So he wants to keep us from moving forward by dragging us backward. So, and another thing, back to the churches. You know, I find it interesting. I've come across people like this in the past. One guy in particular that it was in a Pentecostal church, and he had said to me, you know, when I first put this calling on my life, I felt very unworthy, Dave, and I didn't want it because I thought, how in the world could God work through somebody like me to do any good for anybody? And that really held me back. But this pastor, many years ago, said to me, he said, you're an undiscovered diamond in the rough, and we can really use you, and we're going to put you on the church circuit. We'll only take half of your money. And I thought to myself, when that guy said that to me, I thought, wow, I can't believe it. It just sounded so corrupt to me. And so that really, I ran from that place. That was the end of that. I never went back into that church again. And it's unfortunate because a lot of people get affected in certain ways like that, to where they feel like they're being deceived, or they're, you know, being robbed, or whatever it may be, and they don't want any more of it. And this is really doing a disservice. And when you have these people, this is another thing. You have some of these people come to you, and they're beating you over the head with the Bible, and they're quoting scripture after scripture after scripture, telling you what you need to do, how you need to live your life, and if you don't obey this, you're hellbound. Meanwhile, that very same person is doing whatever they want to do, however they want to do it, and they are doing some vile things. So whenever somebody's coming at you, beating you over the head with the Bible and scripture after scripture, that person's got some bad stuff going on in their life, I'm sorry to say. So everything is about balance. And so we walk a fine line, and if we can stay, you know, in the center of that line, because if we go too far one way or the other, we're going to have problems. So it's all about balance and being real, because when we're being real and we're being truthful with God and with ourselves, then we can deal with things. And so we're not going to be easily led. I was born a leader. No man can lead me anywhere, and nor do I want that. You know, I only allow God to guide me. So I pray that more people will take that approach, to where they can be independent in thinking and allow God to empower them, so they're not led into certain traps and pitfalls in life.
Bill, we only have about a minute and a half left with you tonight. What is your plan for 2018, and where can people find out more information about your deliverances and who you are?
Well, I want to thank you, brother, for having me on, and I wish you and your family a wonderful Merry Christmas. And
thank you.
The greatest Christmas ever for you, and may 2018 be the greatest year of your life. until 2019. And I wish that for everybody out there that's listening in, and God bless all of you. I can't believe the time went by so fast because there was so much more to say, and I look forward to the next time. For anyone out there who is having problems, if you feel like you're cursed or demonically oppressed, or you feel that there's a friend or a family member that might be possessed, please contact me at billbean.net or billbeanministries.com, or you can just punch my name into Google and you'll get the phone book, and contact me. I'm busy, but I'm never too busy to help somebody. So please feel free to reach out, and my assistant, my wonderful assistant, Belinda, will get back to you. And that's the way it works. And then I end up on a plane somewhere. So we always leave it in God's hands, and we praise him and thank him for it. And Dave, I look forward to 2018 being the greatest year of my life. And I know that God's going to work through me in even a greater way to do more good for many. So thank you again, brother. God bless you and your family, and Merry Christmas.
Too. Merry Christmas to you, Bill. Thank you so much for being on Spaced Out Radio. I know our time is short, but anytime we have the opportunity to have you on, you know the door is always open for you. Bill, I'm going to get you to hold on for just a couple of seconds here. Hours 2 and 3 on Spaced Out Radio coming on up. We're going to open up the phone lines for all of you. Your Christmas stories, your stories about UFOs, disclosure, ghosts, whatever it may be. We don't do open lines very often. Tonight we are. So I'm putting the pressure on you, space travelers, whoever's listening. 702-302-4556. That's 702-302-4556. We're taking calls the next 2 hours on SOR. We'll be right back.
Hey, space travelers, it's Joe Roop, your host of Spaced Out Saturdays. Come join me as we explore the realms of the paranormal, the esoteric, and everything in between every Saturday night at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern. You know the truth is out there. Don't get caught sleepwalking. Come join Spaced Out Saturdays. That's every Saturday night, 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, right here on SpacedOutRadio.com.
Psychic Sundays, spiritual communication, ET contact, Sasquatch in your backyard. We will have it all on Cosmic Passport with me, Elizabeth Anglin. Each Sunday, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, at SpacedOutRadio.com, I will take you on a journey of enlightenment. The goal is learning from the soul on out. We'd love it if you joined our experience. Cosmic Passport, heard Sundays at SpacedOutRadio.com.
365 days a year, we're in the field, investigating UFO sightings, talking to alien abductees, and visiting secret military locations like Area 51. We're UFO Seekers, official partner of Spaced Out Radio. Follow our daily search for the truth at ufoseekers.com or like us on social media. Catch us on Spaced Out Radio every third Monday of the month as we discuss Area 51, UFOs, and more. And also, don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube.
From coast to coast to coast, Blacklight Uncharted is taking on the paranormal across Canada. From ghostly hauntings to the UFOs flying above in conjunction with MUFON Canada, we're closely investigating what's going on in the northern skies and checking out the apparitions that walk among us. Check out our videos right here at spacedoutradio.com. We want to know your thoughts, we want to hear your experiences, and we want you to share your stories. The answers are out there, and we intend to find them.
Would you like to become one of our space travelers? All you have to do is click on the Space Travelers icon at spacedoutradio.com. For only $5 a month, you can get access to some great prizes, as well as private monthly shows, newsletters, and a members-only section on our website. Become a space traveler today.
It's paranormal news at its finest. Welcome to The Encounter. At SpaceOutRadio.com, The Encounter online is SOR's trusted news source for everything weird and strange going on around the world. This is news editor Eric Markham. Our team of journalists are scouring the planet for those strange stories that rarely make the mainstream. No fear-mongering or fake news here. Head over to SpaceOutRadio.com and encounter The Encounter.
Want to learn more about aliens, cover-ups, conspiracies, cryptids, and the paranormal? All you have to do is tune in S4 as we take over Spaced Out Radio Night, starting at midnight Pacific, 3 a.m. Eastern, each and every Saturday night, right after Spaced Out Saturdays. Hi there, This is Eric Cooper from Forest Moon Paranormal. Join me, Corey Ruiz, and friends as we discuss the hot topics of the night. It's fun, entertaining, and as dark as the night. Find us at spacedoutradio.com.
Hey, this is Canadian Paranormal Investigator Mike Moore. The third Wednesday of every month, I'll be teaming up with Dave Scott to bring you Ghosts of the Great White North. Each month, we will bring on guests from across Canada to discuss their ghostly encounters. Canada is a paranormal hotbed with stories you've never heard, so we're going to bring them to you. So get comfy on your Chesterfield, grab a donut, and join us, eh?
Are you an experiencer? Have you had run-ins with strange creatures you can't explain? ETs, Dogman, Bigfoot, werewolves? They're enough to scare the daylights out of anyone. Hi there, I'm Butch Witkowski from your 4-Cop. And on the last Monday of every month, you can listen to me and the host, Dave Scott, talk about the weird and the strange being reported on Spaced Out Radio. I'm going to bring my investigations and sources, you bring your experiences, and we'll figure out the rest together. Strange Days on Spaced Out Radio. Come tune us in at spacedoutradio.com.
There's a lot of strange going on in this world, and we can help you find out what's going on with you. Paranormal, cryptids, UFOs in the sky, aliens in your bedroom tickling your toes. We have the investigators you need to find out the answers you deserve. All you have to do is head to spacedoutradio.com. Your information is 100% confidential. The SOR Sightlines Report. It's free, and we're here to help.
Are you interested in advertising on Spaced Out Radio? Head to our website at spacedoutradio.com and click on our advertising tab. There, you will find an assortment of ways you can get your product out there with us, from radio commercials to banners and social media. Have a product you like our hosts to endorse? We can do that too. Visit spacedoutradio.com for more details.
Don't have time to listen to Spaced Out Radio live? Wherever you are, the car, the office, the shower, or even if you're traveling, we're right here for you. Each Spaced Out Radio show can be found on iTunes, TuneIn, and on our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show. It's the perfect way for you to catch up on our shows. For more information, just head over to our website, spacedoutradio.com, and tune in to us today.
Do you want to know what's really going on in your world? Do you have questions about who you can trust in the mainstream media? Then look no further than the Rebel Planet. Come get the straight answers right here at spacedoutradio.com. Join me, Jamie Sexton, creator of Rebel Planet News, as I fill you in on the stories behind the stories. All you truth seekers, be sure to tune in to Rebel Planet on spacedoutradio.com the third Thursday of every month.
The views and opinions expressed by tonight's guest and topic of discussion do not necessarily represent the official policy or position of Spaced Out Radio, Spaced Out Weekend, Spaced Out Radio Limited, its hosts, syndicated carriers, or anyone associated with this broadcast. Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. And hit us up on Twitter using the hashtag SpacedOutRadio. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Welcome back to the second hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Great to have you with us. Tomorrow night and Sunday, we will be live here on SOR. Spaced Out Saturdays with Joe Roop. Tomorrow night, Dark Waters will be his guest, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern Time. Then, Elizabeth Anglin, Sunday, Spaced Out Sundays. And she will have the preacher, Eric Markham, on as her guest from Spaced Out Radio and S4. They get going at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern Time on Cosmic Passport. Everything can be heard at spacedoutradio.com. We want to welcome in everyone listening in on WQEE 99 Rock the Key down in Noonan, Georgia, home of The Walking Dead. We are live as well on the United Public Radio Network, 107.7 FM in New Orleans, at over 160 countries around the world. Great to have you with us as well. We are also live on The Fringe FM, Renegade Talk Radio out of Las Vegas. And if you're listening in on Revolution Radio, remember, the Double R Machine is a donation station financed by you, the valued listener. Head on over to freedomslips.com and donate today. Bill Cardwell has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Nathanize. Nathanize is your password. Make sure you use it wisely, Space Travelers, as Bill sets the password each and every night right here on the mighty SOR. Now, if you want to follow us on social media, you can do so on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Use the hashtag Spaced Out Radio if you want to connect live with us during the show as well. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. We got a live chat going on Facebook in the SOR Space Travelers group. We're on Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. That's where we have our archives. And you can follow us on iHeartRadio, TalkStream Live. Tune us in on TuneIn. Download and subscribe to our shows on iTunes. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including shopping at the Spaced Out Radio store, rocking out to some Bumblefoot. You can also read up on the Encounter Online for all your paranormal strange news, and watch great videos from UFO Seekers and Contact TV. So, we don't normally do open lines around here, but we're trying it out. I had requests after the last time we did this on whether or not we would actually do open lines with people. And since Bill could only be here for 1 hour tonight, I figured, you know what? We're going to open up the lines to you. There's a lot going on right now in the world. It's a couple days before Christmas. A lot of people have stress at this time of year. People get depressed. People get anxious. People get a lot of different types of emotions. We also have a lot going on in the field of ufology. And when it comes to ufology, there's a lot going on right now. Are you buying into the recent disclosure? Is that something that you feel that you want to get into? Are you just shaking your head about it? There's a lot going on. And I got to tell you, I'm still very much up in the air about it. I'm very much up in the air about it because I don't think it's clean. And what I mean by clean is I don't think it's being done the way it's supposed to. Now, a lot of people will say, well, how else is it supposed to be done? We can get into that. I want to hear your thoughts tonight. Any topic. If you've had a miracle, whether or not you're a believer in God, that's irrelevant to me. Have you had anything miraculous happen to you? 702-302-4556 is the phone number to call in. 702-302-4556. Now, I'm putting the pressure on all of you because it was all of you who said, I want more open lines. I want to hear open lines on this show. So here, we're doing it for you. We are doing it for you tonight. And we're going to challenge it. We got a call coming in right now from area code 402. How are you doing tonight? Who are we talking with?
Hi, Dave. It's Sharon.
Hi, Sharon. How are you? I am very good, thank you. Merry Christmas to you.
Happy, no matter what your faith. It's with my grandson. There's a horrible disease out there called HLH, and it's a blood disorder. It actually is worse than a cancer because it affects everything, every organ, every part of the body, and it can affect anybody at any age. But my grandson developed this. And he was just starting first grade, so he was 6. And it was an absolute horror, as you can imagine. He had to go through chemo and steroids and all of that. and, started to get a little bit better, came out of the hospital, but then he got really, really sick again. And it was right before Christmas, and he was in the hospital. And he's such an incredible little guy that it was Christmas Eve, and his counts were, let's say that the normal counts are about, 1,200 on this type of enzyme that they're looking at. His was at 800,000, okay, just to give you an idea. And they were literally talking to doctors in Switzerland, and my grandson was in NYU with some of the top doctors there are with this disease. And it was Christmas Eve, and his father said to him, God is working a miracle in you. And my grandson just is nonchalant, as you have a little one, so you know how they are. Nonchalant said, "Oh, yes, I know, but sometimes it just takes a while." Well, if I were God, that would have done it for me, and it must have, because by morning, this is Christmas Day, his counts had dropped from 800,000 to 1,800. And when the doctor came to my daughter, he literally was crying because he couldn't believe what he was seeing. And all of the doctors were looking at, these counts, and they couldn't believe what they were seeing. And he has been perfectly healthy ever since. And that was, it's been 2 years at least now that he's been perfectly fine. And it was all of these doctors, these scientists that, many different religions or none at all have said it's a miracle. And it was a Christmas miracle. And you cannot, it was God. That's all I can say.
Mm-hmm. I have had a few strange things happen to me, as everybody knows, over my lifetime.
Right.
And, I love it when I hear stories like that. And I understand people's anger when it comes to the fact that there is a lot of suffering in this world. There is a lot of things going on. And if God is supposed to be quite omnipotent, why is he allowing a lot of these things to happen? Okay, child abuse, prostitution of children, cancer, mainly it revolves around children. I mean, you can even go back, like, where was God for his own people when Hitler was, executing the Jews?
Absolutely.
6 million.
Yep.
And this is where I see a lot of people testing the faith of God.
Mm-hmm.
I try and look at it
absolutely.
Just me. I try and look at it and say, okay, well, after the last flood, God felt bad about that and basically said, I'm going to give mankind free will. You guys do what you want. I'm not going to interfere. We'll make the judgment at the end, pretty much. And that's simplifying things, quite vastly. So I can see where a lot of this has happened, but I can see where a lot of people, Sharon, and I know you're a person of faith, I can see where a lot of people have lost their faith because they just have had enough of everything that is that is going on. So, how do you keep your faith when so many people are struggling?
Dave, I'm going to share this with you. My son was murdered.
Yes.
And, St. Michael was his guardian angel, okay? And my first thing was I'm screaming at him saying, where the hell were you? Why didn't you move the bullet? Why didn't you do something? And when I came to my home, I used to have this little wooden post by my front door that said, this house is guarded by angels, right? I took that and I threw it, okay? And I have been through, there was times, what you're talking about, my son used to say those things because his dad left when he was a baby and then died, very young. And he went through this time where he didn't want anything to do with God. And he said, if God loved me, why would he let all these bad things happen to me, you know? And then one night, you know, not too long before he died, you know, I'd been praying and he drove up to the church one night in the middle of the night, and the churches are locked because of theft and everything. He didn't realize that, but it was locked. And so he said to God, all right, if you want me back, you better open the door. And he went, and the door opened, and he went in. And I was very grateful that he finally told me about that, because he didn't want to tell me. But I understand that, you know, when I said to St. Michael, where in the hell were you? You know, why is my son dead? And what I got regarding St. Michael was basically, you know, we have this free will, and he can stand right next to Jared, but if Jared doesn't ask for him, he can't do anything, you know? I mean, they will not. I'm a pushy person, okay, Dave? And God is not pushy. So we have to ask for the help. But I know all those people in the concentration camps, you know, all of there's so many children that have died from the HLH. And from all, the only thing I can say is that there is a bigger picture. And I know that one time God shared with me, I asked in an angry tone about when I was in grade school, I asked God, why are there, you know, handicapped children? I don't understand this. This doesn't make any sense. You know, I'm thinking of Down syndrome babies and things like that. And the answer God gave me was that those children are God's last chance. I mean, like his last-ditch effort to touch a hard heart. So, you know, it's like these children are so incredibly special, and their parents are very special. But they are so special to God because it's like if you've got this really mean, horrible person, maybe, you know, if he sees this child, it'll break his heart. It'll open his heart. And I mean, that is what he explained to me. I don't have the answers for everything. I just know that, you know, God is there, and he's been there for me, and, you know, cured me and cured my grandson. Why? Maybe he wanted those doctors at that time to see or believe. I don't know.
Sharon, thank you so much for calling in. Love you. Thank you for being a long-time listener. You've been here since, I think, day 1 or 2. Merry Christmas to you on behalf of all of us at Spaced Out Radio, my dear. You have a good one.
You too, Dave. Thank you.
Good night. Area code 484. Who am I speaking with? And Merry Christmas to you.
Hello, this is Christopher Fisher from Allentown.
Hi, Christoph. How's it going?
Going all right.
Excellent.
I am going to make my call short. This week I've had quite a few things that I consider miraculous.
Tell me about them.
When I didn't have the money, first time I didn't have the money to buy chicken for myself and my family, someone bought it for me right there in the grocery store.
That's
and I
very
even
nice.
had soda given to me. A case of it, just random stranger I never met. And I had the number 29 show up with money given back to me and a couple other events. It's just been a real interesting Christmas, and I just give it to God.
Thank you, buddy. I appreciate that. Now, I don't know what it's like down there, but up here, Chris, that gift of giving that you received actually happens quite a bit. Namely, you know, and I know everybody's going to roll their eyes because I'm going to mention Tim Hortons here, but normally up here, on a daily basis, Tim Hortons has a number of coffees bought for people in line at their drive-thru. So, for instance, you drive up to the drive-thru, you pay for your meal, and then you're like, "Hey, I'll cover the guy behind me," and then it gets this whole chain reaction going. I think at my local one here, which is a tiny community, I think they had it going for about an hour and a half one day, where the person in front was buying the meal or buying the order for the person behind. So, you know, it's the gift of giving that just feels so good, doesn't it?
Yes, wonderful. And I just wish if everybody did this, this would be a much better world.
I agree, my friend. Thank you so much for calling in tonight. I really appreciate it.
Merry Christmas, sir.
Merry Christmas to you, and thank you for being a loyal listener, buddy.
Thank you very much. Have a good night. Bye.
Take care. That's Chris. He is all over the place when it comes to Spaced Out Radio. He helps us online. He shares our shows. He's always listening. He's always taking part. We love the guy around here. Area code 772. Who am I speaking with?
Hi, Dave. It's Deb.
Hi, Deb. How are you? Merry Christmas to you.
Merry Christmas. Your big time's coming up with the family and your dickhead brother-in-law soon, huh?
Oh, yes. Yes, yes. I'm so excited. I'm 48 hours away. 48 hours away.
But I was listening to the show, as usual.
Yes.
But you know what? I'm pissed off that I got to wait till the end now because God sits on the side. Like, so he has a whole football team and he doesn't put in first string? Who does that? Who doesn't want to be a winner? Like, why wouldn't he take care of cancer? I'm glad that little boy, the 6-year-old, that was a nice story. But how many of those do you hear?
Oh, trust me.
Really?
Deb, trust me on that. I know exactly where you're going with that. And I don't think it's as, like, a lot of religious people would look at you, say, oh, you have no faith. Oh, you have no belief. You got to believe to have faith, and you got to have faith, and you got to praise, and all this kind of stuff. I think you ask a very logical question, because that is the type of question as to why people are pulling away from church, and they're trying to figure out their own spirituality. Now, I can tell you this, and I've said it many times on the show, I don't go to church, but I have a very strong personal belief in God and Jesus. That's a choice I made. I feel good about it. It's not something I preach. It's not something that I go out there and say, you need to be more like me. But I can tell you this. It's the hypocrisy of the church that drives me nuts. And the one thing that I have learned, especially over the last 3 years of doing this show, Deb, is there is a huge, huge difference between having a personal belief in God and religion. I have been...
Well, God of Thunder definitely has that down.
Well, exactly.
The difference between religion and being spiritual.
Absolutely. And I have been challenged lately, and lately being the last number of months. I personally have been challenged by Christian people. Okay? And I know people who have been challenged by Christian people. A good friend of mine, his wife is a house cleaner. And she did private jobs around the community for cleaning people's houses. She lost 2 of her clients because she attended my ghost hunt.
Yeah, because people are judgmental.
Exactly. So, I mean, the judgmental part of everything, the I'm better than you attitude because I go and get forgiveness every Sunday, that doesn't fly in Dave's world, and it doesn't fly in a lot of people's worlds. Okay?
Right.
I have questions. If we're supposed to be God's people, why do we die?
Right.
Why did he create us to kill us?
Exactly. I'm like, this is my second bout with cancer. And it's like, this time, I'm not doing treatment. It's like, listen, if there's a God, okay, and everybody will say, yeah, but, he gave somebody the smarts to do the treatment. You know what? I don't know what to believe anymore. I'd rather just take its course and have quality instead of time. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like, you have to choose between, the poison that people want to give you or just, pray and wait. So it's just, I don't know.
I know. I know this, okay? I think on behalf of all of us at Spaced Out Radio, I can say this to you. Go for the treatment. okay, go for the treatment. Because, Deb, you're going to be really pissed off if all of a sudden, if all of a sudden we are blessed enough with Spaced Out Radio to be, you know, to hit that upper echelon where we want to go, and then we have this giant Las Vegas party, and you can't be there because you're too sick.
Oh, Brig, I want to go to Las Vegas, man.
Exactly. We need Deb. Okay, we need Deb to get healthy to get to that Vegas party. Okay. So
we'll try it.
Please, you know, you don't have to take my advice on anything, you know, but I'm pretty sure that if I go into the chat rooms here and on Twitter, there will be a bunch of people saying, you know, Deb, you know, get to treatment. We need you here. We need you more. We need you to be a part of this, because when we have the Spaced Out Radio party, Deb needs to fly from Florida and join us for this party.
Cool. We'll definitely think about it.
Well, I would appreciate if you did. If you did. That would make me feel better if you did.
All right. But that was my comment, Dave. And good luck with your family.
Thank you so much. And, you know, you're a brilliant woman, and I want to say that, you know, you are one of our supporters on Twitter at #SpacedOutRadio. Thank you for everything that you do as a listener and sharing our shows and doing absolutely everything that you do to promote us. We've never asked you. Mr. Skeptic is saying in Twitter, yes, get treatment. I got to second that. And, you know, we need...
Cool.
Yes, you know, Mr. Skeptic at #SpacedOutRadio, you know, he's like, you know, out of a scale of 1 to 10, he's a good solid 3.2. I really like him. You know,
Dave, you got to lift that. You got to lift that number now.
Well, that isn't me.
You're in for it now.
That isn't me. You know, it's the snark that goes along with it. God of Thunder says, please, Deb, go get your treatments. We want you with us for a long time to come. Okay, and let's
we will definitely think about it.
Absolutely, for us. You know, we know it's the battle, but we're gonna push all of our thoughts towards you. And you know what? My mother is a 2-time cancer survivor. She survived colon cancer, and she survived breast cancer. And it was shortly after that, Deb, that I got the visit from the Angel of Death, when I saw the Angel of Death in my mother's eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I know that story, yeah.
Okay, and so I really want you to keep up the fight. BTO in the Spreaker chat room is saying, keep up the fight. Deb will certainly make it. Adam is saying, please keep up the fight. You know, there's a lot of support out there in Spaced Out Radio Land for you, my dear. So, you know,
they are a great family. They are.
Do the smart thing, because, you know, we already have Bob Davis from my team in the hospital right now. I haven't gotten an update in a couple of days, but, you know, we're praying for him, and we're sending, you know, him as much good vibes. I'm gonna ask the same of my crowd for you as well, my dear, because we want to see you get better.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Dave. You have a very Merry Christmas, honey.
Merry Christmas to you, and thank you so much for allowing us to earn your listening ears, my dear.
Okay, Dave. Take care, honey.
You too, my dear. That is Deb from Florida. She's on #SpacedOutRadio. Bill Cardwell also says in the SOR Space Travelers on Facebook for you, Deb, never give up. You got to fight. You have to fight. You know, sometimes life isn't easy, you know, but I've watched my mom fight, and my mother, God bless her, is such a strong woman. You know, she's beat cancer twice. You can beat this. You absolutely can. You know, go kick its ass. Kurt says, prayers to Deb in Florida. Press on, girl. You know, we got to get you going here. We got to get you going. You got to do that treatment for us. So everybody in Spaced Out Radio Land, do me a favor. I want you to all concentrate your thoughts on Bob Davis, who's in a hospital. You know Bob. You may not know him as a person, but you hear his voice every night on Spaced Out Radio because he is the guy who introduces me into this show, that big, burly, powerful radio voice. That's Bob Davis, and he is in hospital right now just outside of Edmonton, Alberta. He's having some serious issues with his health. We need Bob to get back on his feet. And I haven't had an update in a couple of days, but we need to get him back. And also with Deb, our caller there, who's usually on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Deb, we need all of our audience to send Deb some power of positivity, some prayers, whatever she will accept in order to, get back on her feet from battling cancer now a second time. This is the power of thought, people. This is a positive place around SOR. Let's make it happen. And whether or not you believe in miracles, let's make it happen. Let's convince Deb that we can make this happen. Over on the Revolution Radio chat room, Man Olive said, Deb, you're rocking it. Keep it going. All right, keep it going. Let's get that fight going, Deb. Let's get that fight going. Merry Christmas to everybody in the Revolution Radio chat room. And once again, if you want to call in, it's 1-702-302-4556, 1-702-302-4556. And Deb, maybe you need to find yourself a dealer. Try some marijuana. I'll go on the record and say that. You need to get some marijuana in you. Find the marijuana that works. Treatment doesn't work for everybody. That is true, Mr. Skeptic. But you know what? We highly suggest go get some treatment. We want you here. We love you, Deb. All right. So, 1-702-302-4556, 1-702-302-4556 is the call-in number. Now, we're doing call-in, your topic of choice for the remainder of the show. So any topic you want to talk about. Do you want to talk about miracles? Do you want to talk about the show? Do you want to talk about guests? Do you want to talk about disclosure? What are you proud of in this field? What are you not so proud of? There's a lot of topics going on right now. Do you want to talk about maybe something miraculous that happened to you or a family member? It's all up to you guys tonight. It's all on your shoulders. Make it happen. Give us a call in. Or if you don't want to call in, what you can do is post a question in any of the chat rooms. Make sure you put them in capital letters and we can discuss it. Let's create some dialogue here. Everybody is kind of looking towards Deb, giving Deb support. Deb, you should see this. It's kind of cool. It's kind of cool watching that happen. Miracles come from within, says BTO. Prayers, love, and healing light being sent to Deb and Bob from Tessa. Sandra is sending thoughts for you, Deb. Bob, if you're listening, BTO says you will certainly recover. Let's make this happen. Let's make this happen. So, this has been a very busy week for a lot of us, especially in this field. I don't know how many hours I have spent on the phone recently. I was even on the phone after last night's show, talking with people about this whole disclosure movement that kicked on in this past week. If that's something you want to talk about, we can do that. What kind of Christmas traditions do you have? I know for us, we don't really do anything very special. Never really been a guy to go to church on Christmas Eve. I did with my ex-wife and our kids. But I never really went to church as a kid. Normally it was always a relaxed night because Saturday was so crazy. And growing up, we had 2 or 3 Christmases a Saturday. It was nuts. And, we would always, growing up as a kid, we'd wake up in the morning, we'd open up presents at our house, and then Mom would make this awesome breakfast that only a mom could make. And then from there, we would go over to my grandparents' house and do the big turkey dinner. The big thing around being a Ukrainian family is everything is garlic. There's garlic in the potatoes. There's garlic in the turkey. There's garlic in the mushrooms. There's garlic in the vegetables. There's even raw garlic on the table. Raw garlic on the table. And I'll tell you, by the end of the night, we were doing things, everybody would be in their turkey coma smelling like garlic. The entire house would smell like garlic by the end of the night. It was the most hilarious thing. But that's one of our family traditions. And I can tell you right now, it's going to happen this year as well. It will. I'm a garlic kind of guy. I like my garlic. Catalina compares it to alcohol here. I like garlic, but only in moderation. Come on, we're not talking tequila here. We're not talking beer. We're talking garlic. Then you get one of them hefty cloves of garlic that absolutely burns like there's no tomorrow. There's fire in your mouth, and there's no way you can put it out. That's just the way it goes sometimes. Yeah, sometimes you get a hot one. It is okay. It is very much okay. I'm a fan of it. We got a question in the chat room from Shar who's saying, Dave, do you think this tiny disclosure is because the government knows something really big is coming? Yes. I think this story is so big that we are only getting the tip of the iceberg. I think it has a lot more to do with Robert Bigelow and a lot less to do with Tom DeLonge. After a number of days of studying this and talking to people, I think there is a ton that is going on behind the scenes, and this is only the clip. I'm still not convinced that that was a UFO that they filmed with those FA-18 Hornets, but I do trust the pilots' take on that. Pilots are a weird bunch, man. They're kind of like goalies in hockey or baseball pitchers or kickers. They're weird. They're strange. And I can tell you this. From what I have learned over the last 48 hours, I am so much more convinced that there is way more to this entire field and this disclosure. Don't get me wrong. I think it's a very good thing. I really do think that this disclosure, or the soft disclosure, as many are calling it, was fantastic. As an experiencer myself, it's kind of like, hallelujah, I can now tell all my friends, and I have already, a number of them, I can say, have you followed the New York Times lately? Here you think I'm a weirdo, and I'm being proven right. The U.S. government is looking at them. They are reporting on them. And I strongly believe that for a lot of experiencers out there who have had a UFO sighting or more, that it was a win. Hold on a second here. Bill in the chat room. Dave, do you visit the big giant hard-boiled egg at Christmas? No, I haven't been to Vegreville, Alberta since 1976, but it is my dad's hometown. And yes, we are proud of the giant Ukrainian Easter egg. We are very proud of that. Anyways, had to get that out. So, the whole point that I'm saying is, and thank you, Preacher, you are a weirdo, even if you are right, Dave. I appreciate that. There is a lot bigger news coming down the pipe that I believe is being hidden. Okay, now I'm not trying to start a conspiracy on top of a conspiracy. But you know what? For the first time in a long time, the weirdos were right. And we all have to stand up and cheer for that, people. We all have to stand up and say, you know what? This was our victory. If you've seen a UFO, or you've been abducted, or you've had contact with aliens, you are a winner today. Because finally the biggest government in the world, as of last week, announced it. That there are things that they don't know about in the sky. Okay? That is something that is very, very important to all of us. All right? But I still believe there is more to this story. All right? There is way more to this story than what we know. And I truly believe that we have to be careful on how we're taking this. We do have to be careful. Because if we aren't careful, we are seriously going to be in trouble. Andrew on Twitter says, Dave, take care when you drive down to Vancouver this weekend. It's supposed to snow, and as you very well know, those highways get tricky at times. Merry Christmas to you and yours. Thank you, Andrew. Very much appreciated. Yes, we will be taking our drive a little bit slower because Highway 1 can be a little tricky through the Fraser Canyon, especially when the drop is about 4,000 feet. I'm thinking that would hurt. I really think that would hurt, going through the canyon. So we're going to take it easy. Thank you for your love and appreciation, Andrew. Really do appreciate that. Canadian Joe says at hashtag Spaced Out Radio, this whole disclosure to Long affair really has seemed to divide the UFO community. Absolutely it has. Absolutely it has. And it should. And it should. Look, I don't think Tom DeLonge, and I know I've been highly critical of him, I don't think he's a bad guy. I've never met him. There are just some things that I find very strange. And I was talking to one of my sources about it last night, and I said, look, I need to find out about the whole media, the way they're treating the media. I don't like it. I really don't like it. I think it's very crass and BS the way they have closed off the entire media except for the select few. And if you're not part of those select few, you're not getting the story. I find that dangerous. And it's funny because the person I was talking to last night about it, she was very much saying, well, I don't understand why it's bad for the media. And I said, because when you have companies or you have a business or somebody who goes public with something and then tries to control the media and who or what can be said about it, that's dangerous. That's not very open. To me, that's a red flag. I don't like that at all. I don't like the fact that I see Luis Elizondo broadcasting all over the place, yet I'm told by the Stars PR department that they're not doing interviews. And they're not booking anything until 2018, in January. They are controlling the media. That is not a good sign for disclosure. Yes, the big outlets are getting it now, and that's great. CNN is reporting on it, and they're reporting seriously on it. NBC has, ABC, CBS, Fox News. The big groups are finally taking this story seriously. However, are any of you concerned, whether you like the people or not, are any of you concerned that none of the ufologists who have been studying this for 30, 40 years are not being interviewed on the phenomena? That's because the mainstream media has nowhere to go with this except their military insiders. They have nowhere to go because for so long they have annexed the UFO community that they don't even know how to react to this story. They have no idea. But I do have concerns with the way things are going. 1-702-302-4556 is your phone-in number. We are doing open lines tonight. Open lines. You wanted it. I'm doing it. You got to make the phones ring, people. It's going to be much more fun. Much more fun. But, getting back to the whole disclosure movement here for a second, I do believe there is something more to it. Deb says, you understand that because you are a journalist, most people don't care about the media. The media, by giving out fake news, shot themselves in the foot. Absolutely. Absolutely. I fully agree with you there. Okay, and to follow up, Robert White says, because they burnt the bridges to the people who know with X-Files theme songs and smirking reporters. You're right, too. You're right, too. The media has not been friendly to the UFO crowd. And here it is, right in their face, and we still, believe it or not, have media outlets playing the X-Files theme song and making the story sound like a mockery because they don't want to believe it. Believe it, it's here. What's going to be interesting for me is how much more information do they give us? Do they give us better video? Do they give us better footage? But here's something I want you guys to think about. And we mentioned it a little bit on the air last night. And I'm not sure how many of you caught it. But I was talking to my source last night after the show about it. And I want you to think about this for a second. So the Pentagon comes out and says that they were running this UFO thing between 2007 and 2012. Luis Elizondo was the head of that department. He disagreed that $22 million wasn't enough. He also has gone on record saying they should have never shut down the project in 2012. Okay? So then you think about this for a second. Luis Elizondo literally quit his job around October 6th. So if this program that he ran and is saying that he worked for up until he quit to join the To the Stars campaign, who is funding it? Who is funding the campaign? And who has replaced him because he has said that his job in searching for UFOs in the government has been filled? So who's following him? Who's lying? If you shut down a program in 2012, you shouldn't have an employee looking at UFOs in 2017. That's just plain mathematics, is it not? Let's go to a phone call here. Area code 314. Who are we speaking with tonight?
Adam. How you doing, Dave?
Adam. How's it going, Adnome?
Pretty good, man. I gotta make this quick and short because we're busy tonight. But I want to tell you, you're doing a great job. Everybody needs to pitch in and help support however they can, and keep up the good work, man. You're gonna make it. This is your year coming up.
I appreciate that, my friend. I really do appreciate that. You know, sometimes, you know, it's difficult, but we're hoping for very good things early and often in 2018. We really are.
Yeah. This is the year where everything gets better. Like the whole disclosure thing, it's going to make the shows more interesting. You're going to take off in a whole new direction. It's going to be awesome.
I appreciate that, because I know there have been a few people come out to me and say, look, oh, there he goes again, talking about Tom DeLonge or talking about disclosure. I just want the questions answered. Let's just get it out in the open. You know what I'm saying? Because I think there's a lot that has been covered up, from the mainstream media to what has been released to dictating who can cover this story and who can't. That's dangerous.
Yeah, definitely. They need to be more upfront and honest with us about what's really going on out there, not ask one person and they come up with some giant story and that's all everybody has to follow, you know.
And you got to realize everybody is so on guard with everything right now. They really are. Take, for instance, tonight, where Elon Musk launched a rocket into the atmosphere, and we have people saying that a nuclear weapon has been launched, a UFO. It's the Phoenix Lights all over again. And here's Elon Musk saying, "Yeah, it's just my rocket. You know, we told you about it."
Yeah, I saw that. He's launching satellites. That's all it is. Everybody's freaking out over it, and it's just satellites.
So tell us, Adam, what's your Christmas traditions? And are you ready for the holidays?
Yeah, I'm ready for them. Our tradition is we go to the sister-in-law's house, spoil the crap out of the nieces and nephews and stuff, and drink a little, you know. Probably about as boring as everybody else, you know.
Well, you know what? I'm not looking forward to mine. I'm not looking forward to mine. Tell us an experience. Give us an experience from the old ad gnome. Now, before we go any further here, I do have to let our audience understand. Adam participates in the Spreaker chat room during the show, and he is the first guy to pipe up to ask the questions, because Adam can put a gnome into everything. He knows I hate the gnomes, but he'll ask a guest. We could be talking about Christmas miracles, and he's asking the guest, you know, is there any way that there are Christmas gnomes out there that perform miracles or anything like that? Anything to get a gnome in. Why do you harass me like that?
Because it's awesome. It's funny. If I didn't like you, I wouldn't mess with you.
Well, you know what? As my revenge, I hope one day you're on stage playing your guitar, because from what I've heard, you're a very talented guitarist. And I hope in the middle of your best solo ever that your string breaks.
I've already had that happen.
Yeah, happening again, man. I'm calling the shot right now. It's happening again.
That's funny. Okay, so real quick experience. This was about a week ago, I think, because I messaged you about it because I wasn't sure. But I'm out there waxing my truck. It's a nice, clear, sunny day outside, and I hear this car coming up, like, next to me. I see this car, and before it gets past me, it's gone. And, you know, not sure what that is or anything like that, but, you know, I don't know. What do you think?
I have seen a ghost car. Okay? I have seen a ghost car, and I'll tell you my experience. I was coming, my commute home at my previous job was about 35 miles. And I was driving home one night. It was dark out. It was a little bit cloudy. The roads weren't slick or anything. And so what happened was, as I'm driving, I come around this bend, and there's an RV store on the right of the highway. And then you come around this bend, and then you got to go over this bridge, in order to get to the other side of the highway, obviously, because we had to cross the Vedder River. And on the Vedder River, as I'm about to crest onto the bridge, and it's just a tiny bridge, like maybe 100 yards, if that, okay? As I'm getting on to crest onto the bridge, I notice a car in front of me that is all blacked out, doesn't have their lights on. So I start flashing to this guy to turn your lights on. And as I'm cresting onto the bridge, I see this guy. He then comes off the bridge, and then there's a long, giant half a mile turn to go into the different direction of the highway, and you could see it perfectly. By the time I got to the other side of the bridge, and remember, it's only about 100 yards, that car was gone. Nowhere to be seen. And when I was flashing my lights, it actually sped up and took off. And that bridge has been known to have so many fatal accidents on it that I'm wondering if it was maybe a car that actually went over the bridge one day. I don't know. So when you say that you saw a ghost car, I totally believe it, because I've seen one too.
This corner by my house is really dangerous, and there's been a lot of accidents there. So I'm wondering if that might be connected, like your bridge thing, you know.
Could very well be. Could very well be. And I really believe that you know, you saw what you think you saw. That's one thing I profess to people, you know, when we are doing our ghost hunts, Adam, is I try and tell people that you saw what you think you saw. So never be afraid to admit what you think you saw, because your mind is always right. Your first instinct is always right. That is one thing that I have learned since I've gotten into this whole spirituality aspect. Adam, I'm going to get you to hold on here, or thank you so much for calling, because I got to go to break here at the top of the hour. Open lines for hour number 3 as well. Our phone number is 1-702-302-4556. That's 1-702-302-4556. We'll be back with more SOR right after this.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
There's stories, then there's the truth. Do any of us really trust the news anymore? This is Jamie Sexton, owner of Rebel Planet News. The third Thursday of every month, I appear on SpacedOutRadio.com to bring you the truth you deserve, without mainstream media lies or alternative media fear-mongering. We'll get to the heart of the story and deliver the truth you're seeking. So come join us here for the Rebel Planet at SpacedOutRadio.com.
We are lighting the void on Saturday nights on Spaced Out Radio. Hey, this is Joe Roop, and I'm hanging out in SOR headquarters every Saturday night, bringing you the latest news when it comes to the weird and strange. Bigfoot, occult, UFOs, ghosts, and everything in between, I got you covered. You can tune in to SpacedOutRadio.com starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern Time. Come travel into the void with us on Spaced Out Saturdays.
Not ready for bed on Saturday night? Right after Spaced Out Saturdays, hop on over to S4 with Corey Ruiz and me, Eric Cooper from Forest Moon Paranormal. With S4, there are no limits to what we try and uncover. From government conspiracies to helping clean up the paranormal, no topic is safe on S4. We get to the heart of the matter, of the subjects you want to learn more about. So tune in on S4 starting at midnight Pacific, 3 a.m. Eastern, only on SpacedOutRadio.com.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
Hi there. I'm Butch Witkowski, lead investigator with U4Cop. On the final Monday of every month, you can listen to me and host Dave Scott on Spaced Out Radio's Strange Days. We're going to get to the heart of the matter when it comes to what's happening out there. People are seeing and experiencing things from ET contact to Bigfoot, and I want to hear about it. Your experiences are what we investigators need to help solve these unknown mysteries. So tune in at spacedoutradio.com to the final Monday of every month from Butch Witkowski's Strange Days.
This is Eric Markham, news editor for the Spaced Out Radio's The Encounter Online. We have put together a great team of writers and journalists from all over the world to bring you top-quality paranormal stories, from alien encounters to the latest conspiracies. You won't find any of that fake news here. True stories and top-notch reporting as we look to bring these experiences to the mainstream. The Encounter Online, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Do you want to know the truth? Do UFOs exist? Are aliens real? Are the governments hiding the biggest secret in history? We're UFO seekers, and we're on a hunt for the truth. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow along with us as we journey across the United States, visiting UFO hotspots and alien hotspots, trying to document the UFO phenomenon. Catch us on Spaced Out Radio every third Monday of the month as we discuss Area 51, UFOs, and more. And also, don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube.
Become more intimate and interactive with Spaced Out Radio. Join our Space Travelers Club with your new membership. For $5 a month, we'll provide you with special access to the website, monthly prize draws from books to psychic readings, along with monthly newsletter, private interviews, and more. Sign up today to be part of Spaced Out Radio's experience.
Don't have time to listen to Spaced Out Radio live? Wherever you are, the car, the office, the shower, or even if you're traveling, we're right here for you. Each Spaced Out Radio show can be found on iTunes, TuneIn, and on our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show. It's the perfect way for you to catch up on our shows. For more information, just head over to our website, spacedoutradio.com, and tune in to us today.
There's a lot of strange going on in this world, and we can help you find out what's going on with you. Paranormal, cryptids, UFOs in the sky, aliens in your bedroom tickling your toes. We have the investigators you need to find out the answers you deserve. All you have to do is head to spacedoutradio.com. Your information is 100% confidential. The SOR Sightlines Report. It's free, and we're here to help.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories.
It's Cosmic Sundays with me, Elizabeth Anglin, in Cosmic Passport. Let me take you down a 3-hour spiritual journey where we will get into everything from ET contact to Psychic Sundays. It's a journey of listening and learning together with some of the best professionals in their fields. You can tune in to Cosmic Passport at spacedoutradio.com every Sunday, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern.
The views and opinions expressed by tonight's guest and topic of discussion do not necessarily represent the official policy or position of Spaced Out Radio, Spaced Out Weekend, Spaced Out Radio Limited, its hosts, syndicated carriers, or anyone associated with this broadcast. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and hashtag Spaced Out Radio, and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show. Now, back to the program.
Welcome back to the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Great to have you with us. Tomorrow night on the program, Joe Roop is back for Spaced Out Saturdays. His guest will be Dark Waters. It's going to be an interesting chat tomorrow night starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern Time at spacedoutradio.com. We also have Elizabeth Anglin coming on Sundays with Spaced Out Sundays Cosmic Passport. Her guest will be Eric Markham, our resident preacher and local scientist of Spaced Out Radio. We will be going live on Christmas Eve. Christmas Day, we will be running a network replay. So please bear with us on that. We will have programming for you, but we will not be live. The chat rooms will be open if you want to hang out and, chat away with your fellow people, because we don't want to leave you in the dark. That is on Monday. So we are live for the weekend. We are going to be having a network replay on Christmas Day. And then we are back broadcasting on Tuesday, where Joe Roop is going to fill in for me on Tuesday night, because I will be traveling back home from my parents' house in the lower mainland of British Columbia and a family gathering. So Joe's going to host Butch Witkowski's Strange Days for me on Tuesday night. I will be back on the air on Wednesday the 27th, where Charles Anthony will join us. Chuck Banks will join us, and we're going to talk all things paranormal as we finish off our final week of Spaced Out Radio for 2017. We want to welcome in everyone listening in on WQEE 99 Rock the Key down in Noonan, Georgia, home of the Walking Dead. We are live as well on the United Public Radio Network, 107.7 FM in New Orleans, and over 160 countries around the world. Great to have you with us as well. We are also live on the Fringe FM, Renegade Talk Radio out of Las Vegas. And if you're listening in on Revolution Radio, remember the Double R Machine is a donation station financed by you, the valued listener. Head on over to freedomslips.com and donate today. Bill Cardwell has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Nathanize. Nathanize is your password. Make sure you use it wisely, Space Travelers, as Bill sets the password each and every night, right here on the mighty SOR. Now, if you want to follow us on social media, you can do so on Twitter, at Spaced Out Radio. Use the hashtag Spaced Out Radio if you want to connect live with me during the show as well. You could give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. We're on Instagram, Dave Scott, SOR. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show. You can tune us in on TuneIn, download and subscribe to our shows on iTunes. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including joining the SOR Space Travelers Club for $5 a month. Rock out to some Bumblefoot. Shop at the Spaced Out Radio store. Watch the videos from UFO Seekers and Contact TV, and we have the Encounter online for you to read on all paranormal news as well. We're continuing with open lines tonight. We had a successful first hour. We're going to continue that here in hour number 2. 702-302-4556 is your call-in number. 702-302-4556. We have a caller on the line right now from area code 870. Merry Christmas to you. Who am I chatting with?
I'm talking to Len Dorman.
Hey,
How
Len.
are you doing, Dave?
Hey, Len. Good to chat with you. How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing just great. I'm recovering from the knee replacement surgery on November 2nd. So I've about got the leg worked out in pretty good shape.
Excellent. I know I'm bound for that. Both my knees are just shot. I know I'm so bound for that in the future. You doing okay, though?
Oh, yeah, I'm doing just fine.
Excellent.
Is everybody in the mood to hear a nice little ghost story?
I think everybody would love to hear a good ghost story. So fill us in here, buddy.
To start with, has everybody heard about Bachelor's Grove Cemetery, a little bit south of Chicago?
I have not.
It is one of the most haunted acres. That's all it is a 1-acre cemetery. And it's one of the most haunted acres on Earth. It hasn't been active since the late 80s. There was one final burial, a long-time keeper of the place that was buried. He was cremated and buried in the cemetery. But I think 86 was the last burial that was there. It had been desecrated. It had headstones stolen from it, moved. graffiti all over the place. Most of that's been cleaned up, fortunately. And it allowed just to grow up in just weeds, totally neglected. And it's the thought that that is one of the things making it haunted, is that the spirits there don't like being neglected. We still there?
We are. We're listening to you, man.
Okay, he clicked all of a sudden. I didn't know what happened. Well, back in 1993, I believe, a fellow named Dale Kasmerick, with his Ghost Research Society, went in the cemetery to investigate it. And a young lady that was with him was just taking random pictures of the cemetery. And she ended up with the most famous ghost photo of all, the lady on the stone. Now, have you seen that photo, Dave?
No, but I'm definitely going to look it up right now.
If you look up ghost photos, you will see a lady sitting on a stone. It looks, people claim it's fake, but this photo has been on, I know a lot of people, especially like Corey, doesn't like Ghost Adventures, but Ghost Adventures checked the negative out of this photo, and you can see the lady in the negative, and the negative has never been tampered with. The photo's been checked out by a couple of different places. None of it has been tampered with. There's a lady sitting on the stone that you can kind of see through.
I'm looking at it right now, and, this is eerily similar, with the way she looks so physical, Len. It is eerily similar to the ghost picture that we took here during our haunted tour, where it looks like it's an actual person sitting there.
And there was nobody there when the photo was taken. There was nobody in the cemetery but Dale's group, and that lady was definitely not a member of Dale's group. They were making sure they did not get pictures of the living. And that was she was just taking some random photos, and that was in the background. I've worked with Dale before. I also used to work with the late Richard Crow, who investigated the place for a long time. And I kind of took up the mantle of investigating the place, and I spent more hours in the cemetery than anybody else at the time. And I also went to the Humphrey house, and you wonder, okay, I'm changing subjects. Actually, I'm not. The Humphrey house is a nearby house, several miles from the cemetery, and there was a picture there of the owner, the builder of the house, John Humphrey, and his first wife. So I took a picture of their wedding picture that was taken, we think, in 1863. The date was not on the photo. We know that they had a child in 1865. They were married sometime during the Civil War, so it was either married in 1862 or 1863. So I took, I said, this photo looks familiar. So I took the photo of the lady on the stone that you were looking at and the wedding picture I found in the Humphrey house and put them side by side and found out that this hairdo was the same. Facial structure was the same. The dress is the same. And I know who that lady was. Amelia Patrick Humphrey is the lady sitting on the stone. And I can prove that by simply showing anybody who wants to look the two photos side by side. Sometimes paranormal research, you're not in a cemetery, you're not in a haunted location. Sometimes you're on your computer doing research and comparing photos. And this is what I did. I put on my little police cap and did a little honest police work comparing photos. And this is how I found out that it's Amelia. Later, I contacted Amelia, and she told me that was her in the photo.
How did you contact her?
By Echovox.
Okay.
The route I took to her, I was in Bachelor's Grove during the day, there wasn't a whole lot happening. It wasn't very active. And I had my little K2 meter that had a temperature probe on top of it that would alarm if temperature was changing. So I was sitting in a nice, comfortable chair, and it dozed off. And all of a sudden, my meter started going off loudly and for a long period of time. And I talked to several people, including the manufacturer, and they said that doesn't happen. It just beeps occasionally. If the temperature changes for a couple of degrees, it's not going to sound all loudly unless you have a massive temperature change. And this thing was going off loudly for over a minute. And I looked beside me, I saw some ripples in the air, which just told me there was a temperature change standing beside my chair. And then I started asking questions, and they wouldn't answer me. A few days later, I came back in and had an idea who it might be and started checking, and it went off again. And then I asked who it was. I found out that it was a young lady by the name of Libby. Again, I started taking my photos from that I took at the Humphrey house, and it turns out that the Humphreys, John and Amelia, their first child died at 11 months and 4 days old in 1865. And she is still buried in Bachelor's Grove Cemetery. The child made contact with me. And because I was contacting the child, Amelia contacted me. And I ended up contacting them a couple of different times. Sometimes they are very talkative. And yes, an 11-month-old child has learned how to speak a few words. She didn't know how to really manifest herself or to travel. She later learned that by she actually followed me home one day and started moving some dishes in the house and hid a bowl, a favorite bowl of mine, just trying to be funny. Took us 2 months to find it, and we found it sitting in the back of a cabinet at floor level where we would never put it. And we know that a child put it there. And we don't have children. No, there's no children in the house in Chicago. So we know that Libby Mae Humphrey came in there and moved our bowl. One time I was in the cemetery with an assistant, and I knew there was an event at the Humphrey house. So I said, Libby. And she started she was putting her fingers on the probe and had learned how to manipulate her fingers, letting go, squeezing it, letting go so fast that she could play tunes on my temperature probe on my K2 meter. Never had it happen anywhere else but Bachelor's Grove Cemetery. And it's all because she was playing the tunes that she liked to hear with her fingers on my probe. But I asked her if she wanted to visit the Humphrey house. The Humphrey house was finished in 1880. Amelia never saw it completed because she died in 1880. She got sick. They sent her tuberculosis. They sent her out west. She died en route. They brought her back and buried her in the cemetery. 6 months later, John married his secretary that he had, created quite a bit of scandal because he was the most powerful man in Cook County outside the city of Chicago at the time, and tried to stop Chicago from having the World's Fair in 1892. The Columbian Exposition. He tried to stop that because he was losing constituents. Chicago was absorbing a lot of the nearby suburbs. But anyway, he had been having an affair with his secretary for a couple of decades, almost since him and Amelia got married. So this was not a happy marriage. It was a loveless marriage. 2 other children in the 1870s also died. So this was really sad into this. Remember, Amelia herself died in 1880. So it was a wholly sad situation. And the way they got buried was you had John in the middle, Amelia on one side, his second wife on the other. Amelia's children buried beside her, all except Libby. The new cemetery was not accepting burials until 1869. Libby died in 1865. So they buried her in his wife's family plot, the Patrick plot, in Bachelor's Grove Cemetery. So this child is permanently separated from her immediate family. So that's why Amelia comes to visit almost nightly her firstborn child in Bachelor's Grove Cemetery. And it's why you hear her crying sometimes, because her life was unhappy. And her afterlife is unhappy. Can you imagine knowing that you're buried beside your husband, but his second wife, who he was having an affair with for 2 or 3 decades during your married life with him, is buried just the other side of him? Sounds like a huge drama thing they'd have on TV.
No kidding. No kidding.
It created a lot of tension.
Are you sure you haven't been watching General Hospital?
This is straight history lessons from Cook County. It's a crazy situation while they were alive, and it's a crazy situation in the afterlife. And this one of the reasons Amelia contacted me was because I got to be friends with Libby. When I was moving Libby, asked if she wanted to visit the Humphrey house, Libby attached to me. I asked her to attach to me. This was a voluntary attachment. So she attached. I did not know that Thomas, her brother, was also there, along with another brother that had died. They were visiting her there. So the two of us had 3 children, and we had to walk a quarter of a mile to the car, and that was the hardest walk I ever had. I felt like I had an army backpack on my back. Finally got to the car, and then we were both feeling anxious, so she was driving the 3-4 miles to the Humphrey house really fast. Got them there to the house. I was exhausted from carrying these children, and I released them in the living room doing another man's event. Now, you can call me bad for that. Maybe it was. But the guy's a little bit of a charlatan, and he had people there that were paying him money to supposedly contact the ghost, so I just gave him 3 of them to contact. And then told him to try to contact them, that they were there, because I just dropped them off. Needless to say, he was a little bit upset with me for this.
Wow, that's odd.
But I tried to contact them. They were there. And for just a few seconds, I had my K2 meter in my hand. She came up and set it off, holding my hand in front of people standing in the living room. And remember, this is all in front of witnesses. There was another friend of mine that I told him what I was doing. He told me I was crazy. There was the young lady who helped me move the 3 children. And then there were there was a psychic there who, when I first walked up to her outside of the house, said, "You have an attachment." And she told me later, said, "You don't have your attachment anymore. How did you get rid of it?" So I had to tell her the whole story. Needless to say, she was doubled over with laughter the way that I did it at somebody else's event. She just thought that was extremely amusing, a little bit sick, but extremely amusing. And the charlatan admitted to me later that he tried to contact Lippy, and she admitted she was there. Amelia also dropped by, because all of a sudden the 3 kids that died before she did were there. They just had a kind of a family reunion in the new house that none of them actually lived in, but they were running around. And if you were sensitive about that and could feel them or see them, they were indeed running around the house bloody. And that's one of the stories of Bachelor's Grove. That's the story behind the white lady on the stone. It's Amelia Patrick Humphrey, and she had a very sad life, a very sad death, and a very sad afterlife. But the reason she's there at Bachelor's Grove is not to scare people, not to terrorize people. It's the love of a mother for her firstborn child. That's why she comes there. So how's that for a story?
That is one hell of a story, Lynn. One hell of a story that you were able to put all of that together with the background research. How long did it take you to put that together?
It took me almost a year. I gathered what evidence that the late Richard Crowe, that he investigated that place for years. He was standing at you can't go in there at night, supposedly. He was standing at a bridge and take photos and see what he could do, moving around in the cemetery. Took the evidence that Dale provided, but Dale Kaczmarek never went to the Humphrey house. He never thought about going in there and doing research. And I'm one of the very few people to actually investigate the Humphrey house at night. I was in there actually 3 times at night. And John actually appeared. He was I was a little bit angry at him because of his behavior. Oh, by the way, he was a state senator for about 30 years in the state of Illinois. And like I said, he was the most powerful man in Cook County outside of Chicago up until the late 1880s into the 1890s. And I was a little bit angry at him. And he got angry at me because I was in his bedroom in his new house at night, and a sealskin cap, what they make that little hat out of, coonskin top hat, made in America, that he had, was sitting on the bed. So for a trigger object, I picked it up and put it on my head, which, if you're already angry at somebody and they walk into your bedroom and put on your hat and walking around with it, that would tend to make you angry. So he appeared right in front of me, partially. I could actually see a little bit of it with the IR light. And I got this on video, by the way. And he stood in front of me for some time, figured I was going to get scared, scream, run downstairs, whatever. And I just looked at him and said, "Hello, John, nice to see you." And sat there with a camera on him until he walked past me. I backed up a couple of steps so he wouldn't walk through me. And he walked into a closet there in the room and disappeared. As he was doing this, I had 2 other investigators in the house with me and quietly called them into the room. And one of them had a video camera running and promptly got all this on video also. And I respect Corey, but we investigate 2 different ways. He likes to do house things, and I like to investigate known hauntings. And I try to find out who and why. And I found out if you can find out who it is, the why will come out. Or if you can find out why, you can definitely find out who. And that's what I like to do. Why is this person here? Why didn't you move on? And a lot of times I find out that people, they choose not to. The second greatest gift God ever gave humanity was free will, as you were talking about earlier. And that free will goes on into the afterlife. If people don't want to sit in God's good graces, sit in the celestial choir and sing to God for eternity, they say, well, why can't I be around Earth and walk around the Earth? I didn't get to tour it in life. Can I walk around the Earth in death? So they do. They can do that. Because again, free will. I found bad spirits that can do that. I've run into the head bomber for Al Capone. And he and I don't get along at all. He's hit me. He's scratched me. He's knocked the hat off my head. And we call each other names, do not like each other. But he is restricted. He has trouble leaving the mortuary where his funeral was. His house is gone. His grave is there. I'm assuming he can go to his grave. I've never been there. But he is kind of stuck in the mortuary where his funeral was, mainly in the cold room where his body lay for a while. And he was the top bomb maker for Al Capone. And he tried to lie to me once and say he was Al Capone. I just looked at him and said, "You are not Al Capone." Tori and I have discussed this a little bit. I went astral and it was investigating the place astrally, and that's when I ran into him. And I ran into all the other spirits that were there. And I said, "How many spirits stay here?" And they gave me a number, I think it was 26. And that's when this particular person, Bruno Rodi is his name. Hate to even say his name because they're afraid he might end up finding out where I am. But he just come up and said, I'm Al Capone. I said, "You're not Al Capone." And he charged at me, and I zipped back into my body that was laying in my bed at home. Corey says I took a hell of a chance doing that because I could have been hurt because this guy, spirit, was attacking my astral spirit. And he said I could have gotten hurt. So he cautions me not to do that very often.
How long have you been investigating? Yeah, how long have you been investigating the paranormal?
I actually started about when I was 8 years old. My father's family is from North Florida. If you look at a map, you look at you can see Jacksonville, you see Lake City, see Tallahassee. Look in between there, you see Lake City, and then you see a tiny town called Live Oak, and that's where my father was from. They used to own, back in before the Civil War, they had everything on most of the land from close to the Georgia line, almost down to Orlando, as their property. Given to them by the Spanish because they were Tories. They actually actively fought against the colonists, fighting for England during the Revolutionary War. So, of course, when they lost the war and we won, they had to move out of the United States. So they were given a bunch of land out in Florida, and of course, there were huge slave owners, very big cotton fields down there. And that, when I was young, there was one remaining slave house there on their property. And I would go in there just with my own senses. And, this is 8, 9 years old, would investigate that place. I was one of the last people to actually walk in there because adults could not go in the floors inside the building because the floors were so rotten. But as I was so small, it could hold me up. So that's when I started investigating as a child. My house that my parents came in, that I grew up in, was on a hill that used to be Indian land. So I used to commune with the Indian spirits all the time. I would see them roam through the bedroom at night. Sometimes I'd see them outside at night, and once occasionally during the day, Indian spirits walking around. And I used to just walk around in known Indian areas and could actually see little blurbs of them walking through. Later on, when I got a little older, we had a cabin on the backwater in Alabama on the banks of the Chattahoochee. And by the way, I was living in Columbus, Georgia at the time. So I was definitely brought up on the banks of the Chattahoochee. And my father had got the cabin spot because he saw this older African-American man bringing in strings of fish. So he built a fishing dock right where this older man used to fish because the older man had died. And since it was rented property, he could not come there anymore. Several times I was there at that cabin, and I had the screen door latched, and somebody was trying to get in. There was nobody there. But the screen door was just constantly beating against the side of the house where somebody was trying to pull the latch out of the wood. and the screen door, the door was just beating against the door frame loudly. And of course, up in the woods, you always carry a gun with you because of snakes. And I often, as a young adult, I had two. I had a .22 rifle and a .357 Magnum revolver. And several times I'd go out there thinking somebody was trespassing on our property, and there was nobody there. Dog was raising sand. The dog, I had a dog there, and the dog was raising sand like somebody was there, and there was nobody there. And I think it was the older African-American man who was angry because we had built a cabin on his favorite fishing place. So that's just some of the experiences I had coming up. Later, when I used to walk around, I moved to the south side of Columbus. Now they're close to Fort Benning, Georgia, and there was an ancient Indian village there. And I sometimes would get so spooked because the Indians there were angry. And I could not walk around there much at night. It was one of the very few times I would back off investigating because it was just too creepy. Now that I'm older, it doesn't bother me, and I've gone to some very creepy places. I've sat there and watched shadow figures. I've had ghosts walk up to me. I had the Bruno Roadie. I had a tour in the old mortuary, which was a bar later on. In the ice room, he walked through my K2 meter, which started going off as he passed through. I could feel him walk through my whole body, felt him walk through my hand, saw the meter react when he walked through the K2 meter. He walked out of the K2 meter, and there was a kid standing in front of me, and he shoves the kid right in the chest. Fortunately, this kid was about 6'2", so he had a little bit of weight on him. But I had a camera going, and it's on YouTube. You could see his feet all of a sudden rock backwards, where instead of walking through the kid, he shoved him.
Wow. Have you ever had major contact physically with a spirit or ghost?
Okay. Well, I lived in Chicago for 14 years. That's how I ran into Bruno. And I was investigating another place. It was a brothel, and it was also a speakeasy during the Prohibition, owned by Bottles Capone, Al's brother. And I went upstairs, and I'm one of the very few people who investigated the actual brothel area upstairs of the bar. And I was in the bathroom, and I felt something wasn't quite right. Everybody else had gone on to another bedroom. There were a couple of bedrooms down there that were, of course, obviously for a brothel. There was a hallway from the bathroom to one of the bedrooms. So I fire up, I turn off the lights, turn on my IR light, turn on my full spectrum camera, and I'm watching what I call light anomalies. Some people call them orbs, but they're not round and they're not still. This is video. And you could see what looked like a longer comet-looking thing with an even longer tail coming off of it, shooting around the room, shooting around the ceiling, shooting around some of the towels. And one of them entered my right hand while it was on video. And I went home. I felt a little weird, but I went home, went to sleep. 4 o'clock in the morning, this sounds horrible, but just for your information, I sleep in the bus. The reason I give you that piece of information
appreciate
is
that.
I'm not trying to paint a bad picture for you, but about 4 o'clock in the morning, I wake up, I'm flat on my back, sexually aroused, and there's a spirit having sex with me. The light that went into my hand was a prostitute for Bottles Capone. That room I was in, the little hallway, which they turned into a closet, was used for abortions when the prostitutes got pregnant. And this particular girl had died right there on the table where my hand was resting, and the light flew into my hand. It took me 6 months to get rid of that attachment.
So you were being...
I'm not going to say how.
You were being raped by a ghost.
Yes, and it happened usually an average of 2 times a week for 6 months.
I don't mean to laugh, Len, but now I have to ask. I do have to ask the question. How? What does it feel like? You know, like, were you pinned down? Like, was she slapping you across the face or, you know, teasing you? Or, you know, I'm lost here, man. I'm lost. Trying to figure out where to go with this one. This is heavy stuff here.
I was sexually aroused, so she had something to do. I'm trying not to go into gross details. She was sitting on my hips, so yes, my hips were pinned to the bed. My shoulders were partially pinned to the bed, and she was doing all the work. And it felt like very, very loosely. It's not like having sex with a real woman. You just feel the light touching. And, you know, it was a weird, creepy feeling. Did I answer your question?
Could you see what was going on?
Remember, in the bedroom, it's not like I had my camera or I had light in the bed with me. So I'm in a dark room. I could see a little something moving around in the dark. So it's not like I could see a whole lot. It's not like I felt a whole lot. It was just interesting. It was just a prostitute who was used to having sex, probably thoroughly enjoyed her sex, and was used to having 4 or 5, 6 sexual partners, 6 or 7 nights a week for, you know, however long time she was at the brothel. And she hadn't had any for a while, and she saw somebody she could attach to.
Now, be honest, did you have the good cologne going that night when she attached herself to you?
I think I had some aftershave on.
Were you playing Barry White in the background? Because living or dead, no woman can resist Barry White.
I thought about that. It's actually one of my favorite singers to make love to. And to Kevin Liggett's question, no, the wife didn't get mad. She was right there sleeping through the whole thing every time. She never woke up during it. Didn't even move a whole lot, but almost every time the prostitute came on to me, the wife was laying right beside me. To Char's question, how did I get rid of her? Let's just say I took matters into my own hands, took care of business in front of her, and she was so grossed out she left.
Okay. There you go. That's how we win. That's how we win. This went to all hell in a handbasket very quickly here. Very quickly. My goodness.
So I hope it didn't get too grossed out for your terrestrial radios.
No. I think we are pretty good there. How do you follow that up? How do you follow that up?
That's a tough question. I could tell you about some of my adventures in New Orleans, because I made several trips to New Orleans when I came down south to Arkansas, and I was one of the last investigators to investigate the old wax museum that was in the French Quarter.
Mm-hmm.
And I was, all night long, I was followed by this spirit called Ed Lynch. Again, I was walking around with my Echovox. And some people don't like Echovox. I know Corey doesn't. Because most people just get one word out of it. You know, you may get okay, you know, something that sounds like a yeah, and that's it. I have gotten complete sentences out of the thing before. And Ed came in, and I said, okay, who are you? You're talking a lot. What's your name? Ed. I said, Ed, okay, if you got a last name? He said, Ed Lynch. And I said, all right, let's continue talking. He was very talkative, very friendly. And he turned out following me around the museum all night long. I got in an elevator because the museum used to be a beer distributorship there in the French Quarter. And what they did, the old Model T trucks, they brought in the raw materials on the first floor. They had all the vats upstairs, and the beer bottles ended up upstairs. So rather than hauling the beer bottles by hand downstairs, they built an elevator where the Model T trucks could just back up into the elevator. They'd go up to the second floor, and they'd load up back down to the sidewalk level, and they'd just drive off on their deliveries. I was on this elevator, and several people came in. This one young lady, she had one of her guardians with her, the guardian spirit. And somebody there said that she had to leave. So she actually had to leave the elevator because the spirits there didn't like her guardian spirit. And when somebody asked, can she come back in? They said, she can come back in, but he cannot, talking about her guardian spirit. And Ed was messing with this other guy. He had a K2 meter that when he held it in his hand, just, looking at it, it would go off. He held it anywhere else, it would stop. He said, he held it to me because he thought I would be active. I said, there's nothing happening over by me. So I finally said, who is standing? I said, what's your name, sir? He said, Josh. I said, okay, Josh. Who is standing by Josh? And a woman's voice came on and said, Ed is. I said, Ed, where are you standing? And he came right back immediately, by Josh. Josh, he was, I'd say about 6'2", and I'd say maybe 250, a big man. He almost threw that K2 meter down, almost left his fiancée on that elevator and ran, but he realized that once he ran out the door, there was a big room outside that door that was dark where nobody was. And he didn't have a flashlight. He would have to stumble around, make a hard right turn, walk around another room to go to find the steps that were unlit to get downstairs where other people were. So he decided he'd stay with us for a while. Needless to say, the boy was scared. After this, about an hour of communicating with spirits, constant conversation, a guy came up to me, shook my hand, and said, look, I came on this as a complete skeptic. I did not believe in ghosts at all. You have convinced me ghosts exist. And I don't know anything greater you can tell a ghost hunter. When you prove to a skeptic, without a doubt in their mind, that ghosts exist, I know no greater compliment you can give somebody. And he went downstairs and promptly told everybody else that was there what I had done to prove that the ghost exists. And they let me have a run of that museum for another 3 hours by myself. And yes, I was in a wax museum full of horror, a lot of the old classic Universal horror figures were down there too. I actually had run of that thing for 3 hours by myself. And I talked to other ghost hunters, and they said, there's no way I'm going to be in a dark museum with nothing but IR lighting and just armed with a full spectrum camera for 3 hours. They said I wouldn't spend 10 minutes down there by myself. I have another ghost hunter here in Arkansas. Joe Root met him at a con we went to in October.
Right.
And Alan Lowe fears for my life because I go into scary places by myself, because Alan said there's just no way I'm going to go into a wax museum by myself. And he's been ghost hunting as long as I have. So I tried to follow it up.
That's pretty intense, my friend. Pretty intense.
So that's just some of the stories I have. Some of the great research. Oh, and back to Bachelor's Grove, I actually spent the night. The wife dropped me off there at 5 o'clock in the afternoon and didn't pick me up till 8 o'clock the next morning. I was in this most haunted acre by myself from 5 in the afternoon till 8 in the morning. And that was intense because it changes at night. You have Amelia comes in right at dusk, spend some time with her kid, and they go away. And then the spirits come in there, and they make you see what you come to see. People that come in there, have a few drinks or maybe some drugs or other, things of their choice. They've seen hangsmen's nooses. They've seen monster dogs. They've seen horrible apparitions. And because everybody knew me, I didn't see any of this. I was forced into a sudden illness for about 2 minutes, but I recovered from that, and they left me alone the rest of the night. Even though I knew they were there watching me, just to see if I did anything wrong, I didn't. Another tour came in. Of course, all the spirits there were nervous. We don't know these people. And I ended up surprising them. I hid behind a tree. They knew I was there because I saw some of the equipment. And I dove out behind the tree. I blinded them with a white light flashlight and turned it off, jumped out in front of their leader. Our noses were probably less than an inch apart. And I said, "What the hell are you doing here? And what the hell do you want? And who the hell are you?" And he almost jumped out of his skin because he never saw me there. And he said later, you could have killed me. You could have done anything you wanted to because I never saw you coming. He said, "I want to know how you did that. I'm an active duty Marine." And I said, "Well, I went to college with a bunch of Rangers, and I may have picked up a few hints from Army Rangers." I was, okay, that explains that. Because I was dressed in full camo. I was all in dark clothing, and my hands were covered in dark green and brown grease paint, and so was my face. So you couldn't see me in the dark. I was literally a ghost. Although I could see him because they didn't have grease paint on. And so I gave him a tour of the place, showed him where Amelia sat down on the stone and some of the history of the cemetery. And they left after about an hour. And then I had 2 coyotes come in and block me in the cemetery for a while. And that was nerve-wracking. The coyotes were howling for about 4 or 5 hours early in the morning. And, you're in a cemetery. You've got ghosts walking around you. You got coyotes howling. There's no moon. You've barely got any light. In total darkness, I was not using any kind of lighting whatsoever. And basically, I could see about 15, 20 feet in front of me, barely as shadows. It was an interesting evening. Very few people would have done what I did that night. But that's what kind of guy I am.
Len, I want to start wrapping things up here, but thank you so much for sharing your stories and letting us know, man. That's pretty intense. Pretty intense stories you got there.
Well, I appreciate you taking my call. Dave, you have a fantastic show. I love everybody in the chat room. I consider them all friends. They're all fantastic people. You have some great listeners. Just keep up with your fantastic show, and I wish you all the luck in whatever the changes you're trying to make your show bigger and better. I wish you all the luck in the world, man.
Thank you so much, Len, and it helps with listeners such as yourself who take the time to share our show, to take the time, to be a committed listener like you are. I really, really do appreciate that, my friend. Appreciate it, and Merry Christmas to you and your family, and as far as your knees, I hope you get back and feeling 100% very soon.
Thank you very much, and Merry Christmas to you. Happy holidays to everybody in the chat room.
Absolutely.
Take care.
We'll let you go back there. Thanks, Len. Len takes part in our chat room in Spreaker. Now, there's some interesting stories. Let's be honest. A few of us were like waving our hand, trying to cool on down. Wow. I couldn't imagine that. We actually had Patty Negri on a long time ago to talk about ghost sex, because she actually wrote an article about a lady who was almost on a nightly basis having sex with a male ghost that was frequenting her room. It's one of the strangest things that I've ever heard. This is now the second person I've heard. Appreciate you sharing, Len. Really do appreciate that. And thank you so much. We have about a minute and a half here before I want to start wrapping things up. And I just want to give a shout out to all of you guys out there. I mean, you guys have made for a very, very fun year. It really has been a blast. We've seen a lot of good things happen around here. And a lot of that credit goes to all of you guys, especially those who take part on Twitter at #SpacedOutRadio. These guys out there, they make me laugh. You really make me laugh. It really, really makes me want to, continue. You have to have the right humor to understand the snark that goes on at #SpacedOutRadio, and I love it. I appreciate that, guys and girls on Twitter. You have no idea how much I look forward to it. I really do. And to everyone in the chat rooms, I'm going to start with the original crew over in the SOR Space Travelers Club on Facebook. You guys have stuck with us through some good times here and some tough times as we grow, but you guys have been absolutely amazing, and I just want to say, Merry Christmas to each and every one of you, and I'm looking at you right now. Harlan, Bill, Gail, Gloria, Ozzy Rob, Joe and his hair. Ron isn't around tonight, Robin isn't around tonight, Claudia's not around tonight. Mike McNeil, you're awesome as well. Merry Christmas to you all. And everybody in the Spreaker chat room as well. You guys make it so much fun and entertaining each and every night. Hey, after this show, I'm probably going to go stop over in Beyond the Omniverse's chat room on Discord. So if you want to join me there, we might say a quick hello, how are you, to everyone there. Want to say thank you to Mr. Ron Bumblefoot THAL for allowing us to rock and roll to Little Brother is Watching and Women Rule the World every single night. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Go catch him if you see him in concert. He's phenomenal. Rated one of the top 11 guitarists in the world. Mr. Bumblefoot. Gotta love him. Want to say a big thank you to my team for helping us put this together. Amy Martin, Everett Themer, who helped out for a long time. Kim Gandy, who helped out for a long time. They're not with us right now, but you know what? We thank them anyways. The Preacher, Eric Markham, Abby Lee, Jolene Lammers, Tim Doyle, Bob Davis, Catherine James, and so many more. You guys do a phenomenal job in helping us build this each and every single night. Tomorrow night on the program, Space Out Saturdays with Joe Roop. Dark Waters is his guest, 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern Time. Then on Sundays, the preacher Eric Markham joins Elizabeth Anglin for Space Out Sundays Cosmic Passport. Same time, same place at spacedoutradio.com. Remember, you can catch all of our archives at youtube.com/spacedoutradio. And don't forget, if you haven't had the opportunity to do so yet, because I know it's the holidays, but if you get a chance, either share or donate to our GoFundMe account, GoFundMe.com/We Own the Night. Help us build a brand new studio so we can expand this show for you. But most of all, I say thank you to everyone who participates in this show. This is my final show before Christmas. I love all of you because together, my friends, we own the night. I will talk to you on December 27th. Have a very safe and Merry Christmas, everyone. Much love to you all. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us out for the weekend. Good night.